Hello, chat. Figured I'd come hang out with you guys. Mike will be here soon. I'm just kind of getting the doc ready, putting up some news stories. Thank you to Canoodle as always for getting this stuff collated and documented. There's a lot, so I'm going through it. I'm putting up the FTC is going to review Xbox ABK, Ghostwire Tokyo previews. Phil Spencer gets a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about that. I sort of don't know what to say about that. So if Mike doesn't want to talk about it, we might get rid of it. GT7 State of Play. Mike had the pre-brief on that, so he is at least fully up to date. I mean, I watched it too, but whatever. We'll talk about it. Yes, we'll put this one up top. About Bungie talking about its plans and its ability to stay independent. Jim Ryan said we should expect more acquisitions. We're talking about that. Kind of updates to what we did so far. Hello, chat. Hello, Outbreak Podcast. Hello, everybody tuning in. Wait, when was GTA announced? They announced this morning in like a tweet and at the end of a blog post. There was no trailer, nothing. It was just like a weird little thing. What's up, Christian? How you doing? Let me make sure. Hang on, let me check your. Okay, now talk.
I'm talking. Hello.
Oh, you're loud though. Let me talk. Let me turn you down a little bit.
I was too close to the mic just now.
Yeah, but it's also my side of things. Remind me to tell Mike to turn his gain down this week.
The gain down, okay?
Yeah, on his mic. On his mic.
I'm gonna remind you to tell him. I'm not gonna tell him because he's gonna get mad at me.
Yes.
I rather he getting mad at you.
Yes, that's much better. He's always mad at me, so it's good to just like give him more fuel.
Yeah. It's good content.
You can now link your PlayStation account with Discord. I'll put that up there, but it feels like it's so minor. I hope they have more planned.
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's just rich presence, which is like they've had
the most basic shit.
Right. It's like, okay, yeah, the Xbox has had that for a while, but people who are friends with me on Discord know my tablet has that because whenever my kids play a game on my tablet, it's like Jeff Grubb is playing Elmo's Alphabet or something, and he's playing that for 20 hours. And it's like, no, my kids just left my tablet running somewhere, and it has Discord integration. So, yeah, pretty basic stuff. Sony wants to bring more of their game IPs on a multimedia level, like TVs and movies. I mean, I feel like we could talk about that in conjunction with other stuff.
Sorry, I didn't get it myself.
Oh, this is a good one. $1.2 billion of the price was for employee retention. That's a good point because I wanted to bring that up in here. Future games from Bungie will be multi-platform. That is unequivocal, man.
Unequivocal. That Facebook stuff is so funny.
Leon, I rarely use shampoo because it's so dry here. But sometimes I'll use I don't know.
Use shampoo?
No, I usually kind of use a conditioner, just conditioner. And yeah, but I do the no poo lifestyle.
That's weird.
Sometimes I use it, but usually whatever my wife has. Grubb and Shoulders is what I use. That's right. It's really dry here. I mean, I don't know what it's like in Argentina, but here
it's really humid.
Speaking of,
completely opposite.
Damping.
Speaking of, actually muted myself. You talk about all these places you might move to, and no mention of Northeast Ohio. Jeff, imagine the content we could make. The content.
Okay, listen, I'll consider it.
Think about it. I know you probably don't want to be too close to your family, but come on, you'll be far away enough.
Listen, if I was in Illinois, I would be like a 5-hour drive, and that's like once every 3 months. I could drive over there to hang out with you, and we can make stuff.
Illinois might be, that'd be pretty good. But I mean, okay, come on, man, Cleveland's great. Pittsburgh's good.
I'll look at Cleveland. Yeah,
look at Cleveland.
I have nothing against Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland's great. It's nice.
They got great restaurants.
Look at me. I'm a schlub. I live like a king here. I make less than you do, and I'm literally like royalty. That's a good point. I don't even know what to do with the money I have anymore.
Is there a children's hospital? I guess probably Pittsburgh would probably have one, and that would be.
There's Akron's Children's Hospital right by me.
There we go. That's awesome.
Right. Also, my dad is a doctor. It would help you.
That's fair. Is he?
Wow.
Is he down with the ophthalmology? Is he any expertise in ophthalmology?
No, but he knows everybody.
He knows eyes.
Okay. All right.
He has eyes. He's in eyes.
He has eyes. That's
does
a
have
good
eyes.
point.
He can't be that hard.
Excellent point, Christian.
Mike, you're very loud. But that's okay. I want you to turn down your gain a tiny bit.
I did it a bit. I was also screaming.
No, it's not that. It is definitely.
Yeah. Oh, wait a second. I think I know what the problem is.
It's not. This is like leftover from last week. Like the way I have things set up, I think if you just turn down your gain a little bit, like you're still much louder than me, even when you're talking normal, and like that's good because previously I'd had you too low.
Yeah. Chris or Sean was saying there is still like I forget that.
Also, turn on your camera.
Blowing. I'm blowing.
It was blowing, right? Yes.
I'm getting blown. I'm 35 years old.
Mike, I need your help with the news. There's a lot of it. There's like 2.5 pages. I'm like going through it. I'm like just moving stuff up that we want to like talk about.
Yeah, I'll go through a second. Sorry, I was like trying to eat something very quickly before we got going.
We're doing our meeting here for the podcast live with everybody listening, so it's content.
This is production time, yeah.
Yeah, production time.
Oh, everyone was listening to my begging Jeff to come. Everyone, wouldn't it be great if Jeff lived near me and look, we can make all this in-person content? Just imagine.
It would be fun. It would be fun.
I'm not moving to where he is, but I mean, if you wanted to come here,
well, I know you need your mommy and your daddy, so don't worry. Like, I know you need to be.
I do.
Yeah, when is the doctor? Free doctor.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm not getting rid of that.
Away from.
Dad talks about retiring. I'm like, I don't know, Dad. You love working. You should keep that
up. You know what happened when people retires? They die.
That's right. So... Actually, no, he'll never retire. He couldn't stand staying still. All right, helping with the news.
I'm like moving some Nintendo stuff up. If you want to like look at the
I'm
list,
gonna get rid of
off
stuff. That's what I'm
get rid of stuff. Yeah,
that's what I'm very good at.
Okay. Ooh, Cruise and Blast price cut is permanent.
What the hell? Oh my god, yeah. Activision. Don't care about that. Don't care about that.
You don't care about Activision? God damn.
That's fine. Revenue. That's right.
Yeah, I fixed that. I'm sad, but I had to do it.
No, I understand. Yeah. I mean, listen, we can always bring it back after the stream.
You can always come back. Yeah.
You can always come
like
back.
Master Chief.
Yeah.
Is Dying Light 2 Activision? Why is it on? Wait, no, this is just got mixed up.
It could have just got mixed up. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Konami. No, they don't really care.
Konami.
These are just random
I am
numbers for Capcom. We don't really need to
say
talk
sold all
I'm
his
keeping these release dates because I at least want to talk about Ghostwire Tokyo and MLB The Show.
Nothing like
that game looks
Capcom
cool.
We need to talk about EA.
Yes, I agree.
EA Sports.
Sony buys, but that's clearly.
All right,
I'm just going to follow up on that because we talked about that a lot on the Dogs, or we had a special podcast. Wordle. There we go.
Wardle, Mr. Wardle.
Mr. Wardle.
Mr. Wardle.
I mean,
they pay his. I'm sad they didn't pay. They said they didn't do the same with Mr. Crossword. Back in.
Yeah, Mr. Crossword. Yeah, Chris Crossword. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, what the hell? As soon as I heard that first note, I was like, why is that not happening?
Okay. Let me turn it down. There we go. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Mike, have we talked about the Stadia news? Is asking
what?
Chat.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
What's Stadia news?
What I know about Stadia is when they were counting the players on Destiny when the Bungie thing happened, they were like, there's like 1,000 players on Stadia of Destiny 2. It was like, okay.
Yeah, they're like giving like they broke down the numbers like really specifically and like how each platform was doing, and yeah, it was like 30,000 on like the lowest platform, and then Stadia was like I think 5,000 or something like that, or maybe
I don't know the exactly number, but it was like something kind of funny.
I was surprised even that many were playing. To be frank, like
yes,
okay,
same.
Yeah, there is Stadia thing here. Google, according to Business Insider's, Google tries to salvage Stadia. Focus and turn. Yeah, so that's in our news thing.
Okay,
right.
so I mean,
Oh my
they
God.
didn't try that hard the first time. I don't know what they're gonna do now.
All right.
We're getting started soon, everybody. Don't worry. This is still just meeting time.
I got rid of a bunch of stuff.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to talk about this or this
Or that. Or
Buttons.
Or
I
this.
mean, Netflix definitely not. Don't care about that.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, sure.
You think so? Okay. All right. Yep.
I mean, yeah, of course they want to make a sequel to Scarlet Nexus. Yeah, it's gonna be more mature. What the hell does that mean? The anime characters are gonna get extra sad this time. They're gonna get really mad. They'll have one of the scenes where like one of the characters is like eyes get really wide and he starts shaking and he's like, ah, one of those that they always do, and that's drama.
Oh, you know about anime?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know how it all works.
You going to talk about this? WoW Horde and Alliance can now play together.
Yeah. What the hell?
Wow.
Yeah, a little bit.
It finally happened.
Yeah, we were doing it.
It only took them 20 years.
All right, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick.
Yep, sounds good.
I'm gonna check that Cuphead thing because I think it was out now.
What are you looking at, Penny? You got something to say? Say it.
Say it, dog.
Cuphead show. The Cuphead show. When is out?
I don't know. Hang on.
February 18th.
Where's my phone?
Okay, I thought it was today. I don't know why.
My phone. Whatever. Okay. I'm gonna move these up.
Go cruising. No, I had that song in my head. I really dislike that not a world just blank meme.
Oh yeah, me too. Because it's Picross. They're making a joke about Picross, but they don't know Picross is a thing. Makes me very mad.
Oh, what is this? Picross will. It's like one Picross a day. It's just a world.
Yeah, that's what they should. You're right. They should do that.
Oh, I'm firing up.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Pablo. I will tweet. We're going live. Everyone hits the thumbs up button right now. That'd be great.
Or the thumbs down. We don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever you have to do with your life. I understand. Yeah. Yes. Also, we'll be starting here in a second. This is still not the show. There's just a lot of news. Also, I copy and pasted this from Discord because Canubo puts it in Discord, and then he used my emoji when I'm going like and I called that cum face. So now in the Google Doc, it couldn't paste the pictures, so it's just cum face, 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 cum face. So I'm gonna delete that so I don't accidentally say it on the show. That'd be embarrassing.
That would be, yeah. Imagine if you said it live.
Yeah, imagine if I did that. That would be.
No, it's just not cool.
I would be sick to my stomach. Google try to salvage. Okay, this is according to. Was that a fart from Mike? Is that what that sounded like? I think it was.
That sounded like he dropped something really big.
Like a kaploosh. Skaploosh.
Yeah, it's either that or that. Yeah.
Dropped a pound of meat from 5 feet above the toilet. Yeah.
He can hear us. That's the fucked up part.
Sometimes he can. I don't know if he took his headphones with him this time.
What if he poopy with his headphone on? Maybe he's a sicko.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely a sicko. Mode.
Yeah, he did this like button. We don't. It doesn't matter now because it doesn't exist. So. Are you doing okay, Mike? Did you drop something?
No, I'm great.
Okay.
Did fantastic. Let me go.
You look relaxed. Like you let stuff go.
Okay. Then we just got a bunch of numbers. We'll just do the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, there's all those numbers. I love numbers. I didn't get rid of them, but I didn't think we had to talk about all of them.
No. We'll just kind of the big ones.
Are you gonna talk about the sexy cars in Gran Turismo 7 and how
we are? We'll talk about it briefly. Yes. They were very, very into those cars. Okay, I'm going to tweet.
Mike, we want to know if you farted. I did not, and trust me, I would tell you if I did. I'd be very proud of it. I regret that I didn't. Yes, we have to tweet.
There's my browser task manager. See if there's something.
No cheek slappy happening.
Let's harass.
Big
Jeff.
meaty men slapping meat.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
I'm gonna tell work we're potting.
Tell them about the podcast.
Yeah, those cars look so good. I'm always clowning on the cars.
All right,
The cars are good.
I'm good. I think I'm good. Let me get to this.
Too high.
Well, I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Maybe I just smoke weed.
Some coffee or something. Or... No, let me move myself up.
Oh, I already moved me. Because in my mind, you're going to yell at me to move myself. Actually, I think I made it. I put it the wrong way.
You definitely made it worse. Yeah.
I was like, I'll move the camera down, and then I will go down. That's not how that works. All right, 1 second.
Yeah, no, the camera
inverted aim.
No, I'm like, inverted.
This is perfect, actually. Just leave it like that. Leave it right in your face.
There we go, Jeff. I got
6 inches
this.
away.
I'm doing it.
Okay, now you're.
I ordered a new camera because the Keo Pro was on sale, and I'm very self-conscious about the fact that Jeff's 60 frames per second and I'm not, so we're gonna fix that. That's why I spent $100.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I think this looks right. I'm gonna move you up a little bit.
Bye, Christian.
Thanks,
Remember
Christian.
to plug the stream.
Great podcast.
Yes,
I agree, Jenny Boss. This is a great podcast. This is content. This is, dare I say, a metaverse?
It is a metaverse.
Everything's a metaverse now.
If you just say it, it's good. Yeah. Okay.
I love the goalpost moving on the metaverse has been fantastic.
Oh yeah.
FPN.
You can hear
Jeff's
that?
in quality mode. No, Jeff's in performance mode. I'm not actually. Jeff has the performance and the quality. I don't. I'm just like I'm in PlayStation 3 mode. Is what I.
Okay, I'm gonna count down. I'm gonna start, and then we'll get into it. Ready, Mike?
Mikey, ready.
Okay. 5, 4, 3. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where big meaty men slap meat.
Jesus.
Sorry, Mike. This is the podcast where Mike is filmic and I am in performance mode. I'm your host, Jeff Grubb. With me is
A disgusted Mike Minotti.
Big meaty men slapping meat. And today's episode, we have news and games. Sorry, I have that in my head because all the Jack Reacher talk where they got a big Jack Reacher like in the books and everyone's very excited about it. Like they're just like, he's big, and I love it. And I'm like,
are they making a new Jack? Is there like a Jack Reacher TV show now?
Yes, there's a Reacher TV show. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I don't know where it is, but
I like Jack Reacher 1 just because it takes place in Pittsburgh. And now, like whenever I go to Pittsburgh, it's like that's from Jack Reacher. That's from Jack Reacher, and I'm very obnoxious about it.
Jack Reacher 1's a legit good movie. It's like a really fun action movie.
Yeah, no one liked the sequel, right?
Yeah, the sequel's not. Yeah, the sequel's not very good. I mean, a lot of that was just Chris McQuarrie's a good director, and he did the first one. And he didn't do the second one, but whatever. I just love that there's a big boy finally playing Jack Reacher. That's what I care about. Let's see. We're gonna talk about news and games. We have a lot of news. There are some games happening, so I'm sure we'll talk about that stuff. First, I want to thank you for joining us. You get more from Mike and me at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, email the podcast, games+podcast@VentureBeat.com. That's always the best free way to reach us. Thank you to Carlos Zane, who's Insane in the Rain Music on YouTube, for the use of our theme songs. If you're listening to this on the website player widget, you can subscribe to the audio version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up button. It helps people find the show. We already have 400 people watching. We got 100 likes. That's great. Let's get a few more 100 likes there. That'd be really great. If you like the show, rate us on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Join the Discord. It's discord.gg/GameMess. That link is in the description. Thank you to our mods for all their help. And if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/GameMess. That gets you into the secret channels inside the Discord. It may also soon get you some extra content. We've started talking about it. Started doing some conversations. We're thinking
something about a Jeopardy something, which I would totally destroy you in.
Yep, I believe that you think you will, and I'm going to prove you wrong. I'll let you be the heel. I'll let you be the heel on this one. Yeah, so that stuff's happening. You know, no promises on the time frame for that, but we're definitely planning some more stuff for that. So get into that Discord and then get into the Patreon. All right, Mike, how are you doing? Like, it's been a busy couple of weeks. It's kind of nonstop, and we're still going.
A little tired. Been like working at night and then like getting up too late, so I need to fix that. But now we're getting a lot of snow, so I'm good though. I got a lot of groceries, so I'm good to stay inside all weekend, I think. So I'm doing all right. I can't complain. I got my Saturn hoodie on.
I was gonna say, did you want to talk about the Saturn hoodie? Because it's very good.
I love the Saturn hoodie. Yes.
Saturn's such a good design. It was a good looking console.
I love the console. I love the look. I remember, in third grade, like they did this thing where the kids could design the spelling test like paper, and you just like drew a picture, and then like as long as you put 8 lines in it, they could do that. And everybody was like, drawing like Mickey and like Power Rangers, and I drew the Saturn logo, and that was like what we used for our spelling test the one time. I still remember that. I love the Saturn, man.
Yeah, it's a good system. It's I never owned it, but I rented it, and then I always played with my friends. But yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like, I don't want to go back and collect retro consoles, but when I think about the Saturn and the Dreamcast, I'm like, those would be fun to have for some reason. I don't know, something about them.
Yeah, I've been thinking about plugging the Saturn back in and maybe doing some stuff with it, because it's a vibe, man.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. They like their whole way they did 3D was very different than the PlayStation in terms of rendering graphics, and so it had like its own sort of uniqueness to it.
It had like weird 3D and then like very good 2D with some like really neat games there, like Guardian Forces or whatever that treasure beat 'em up is, and a stall. Goddamn, a stall. Me and you should play a stall someday. That'd be great.
Sure,
You'd love a stall. You'd be the bird, and you'd be all about it.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm down. I don't know what a stall is, so that sounds fantastic.
Stall's it's like a 2D beat 'em up where you're like a boy and a bird, and it's very pretty.
I would love to be the bird. I would love to be the bird.
You would love to be the bird.
We have a lot of news, so let's get into it. We're going to start just ripping through this stuff, and then we'll get to your questions, which we already have some super chats coming in. We have the questions, which I need to bring up. I haven't done that yet, so I'll have to remember to do that. Also, before I do this real quick, I'm going to be streaming beginning at 3 p.m. Mountain Time today. That's 2 p.m. Pacific. That is 5 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to be going for around 12 hours playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. This is a stream we're calling Let's Go Eevee. It's for my cousin's daughter, who is named Eevee after the Pokemon. She got leukemia. She's in rough shape. She's doing okay, though, right at the moment. She's going to be able to watch us stream, but we're going to try to raise money for her family so that they don't have to be like, go work when this little girl's in the hospital. So if you want to come tune in for that stream, it would mean a lot to me. Just come watch, come hang out. Let's get a lot of people watching. And then if you can, there will be a link to the GoFundMe when we're live to help them out. But at the very least, come in, watch. I'm going to be going all night. So really looking forward to that. So, and also you guys could help remind me not to swear, because Evie's probably going to be watching for a while. So.
Yeah, that'll be my job. Yes. So you're going to play Pokemon? You're going to play Arceus specifically for 12 hours. Ooh,
yes,
man.
That's my plan. It seems like the kind of game where I could lose 12 hours in it. We might take a break and play Mario Party or something like that, but we'll be playing.
Yeah. If I'm for some reason not watching, then you got to let me know to get on the Mario Partying.
Sounds good. That'd be great. Thank you, Mike. All right, let's do the news. So we talked about this in an emergency podcast earlier this week, so I figure we don't need to go over all the exact details, but there's been some new fallout, new information when PlayStation acquired Bungie. Once the makers of Halo, most recently the makers of Destiny, for $3.6 billion. It was a lot of money, and at the time we did the stream right after we heard the news, and we were getting information at that point where it was like, and they're being very adamant that they're going to be independent and they're going to keep releasing their games everywhere. And then both me and you were trying to go through the process of figuring out what this meant. And at the time we said the boring reason this stuff was happening is because PlayStation wants live service stuff, and they also want to learn from Bungie, because Bungie's good at this stuff and Sony's very good at sharing information once they have an internal studio. And they came out since then and have basically said as much. Those were the primary reasons for this happening.
Once again, Jeff, you said what a reason for something, and then they literally came out yes, this is the reason. So I hate to give you props, so I got to give you a little props there.
Yeah, it's because it's okay, that's the obvious boring stuff, and it's very easy to overlook that a lot of times, and I'm glad we led with that. But yeah, so just kind of following up a little bit of more information. Bungie has said, and this is a quote from someone at Bungie, probably Jason Jones, I'm not sure, but Pete Parsons. They're all JJs and PPs over there. Sony has said Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio with the option to self-publish and reach players wherever they choose. And future games from Bungie will be multi-platform, and this is quote unquote, that is unequivocal. Unequivocal, Mike.
Jeez, they're like really stressing it, and I think they know that we like just kind of don't believe them naturally, and they're just trying to stress it now. So yeah, I guess that is actually going to be the case, huh?
Yep.
Like maybe there is no dancing around it. Maybe there is no hidden language here. Maybe it is just no, like Bungie games are going to be on Xbox still.
Yeah. And it's like clearly we could have counted on them being on PC, like wherever, like, you know, streaming to mobile in the future. Who knows? There's like a story of them maybe having conversations with Stadia about using them as like a white label streaming service or something like that. But like, yeah, it sounds like it's also going to be on Xbox because Bungie has a lot of players on Xbox, and it makes a lot of sense. It also, if you look at like the way that they structured the payment to Bungie, like one of the things that is very obvious about what they value here is the talent at Bungie. And you could tell that because they spent $1.2 billion of the $3.6 billion, so like a full third, just on employee retention, just to keep people to stay at the company for at least a couple of years. And so it's like, we don't just want the Bungie name. We don't just want the IP. We really do want you to be the mentors of these. And this is another story. 10 upcoming live service games that we're making at Sony PlayStation, and we want you guys to like give us your expertise. And so yeah, they announced as part of like this deal, and they've done some interviews. Jim Ryan's been out there saying we have 10 live service games in the works. And I guess if you would have looked at all the acquisitions and the deals and the partnerships they've made over the last few years, you probably could have counted up 10 live service games that they've as much as confirmed that they're working on. So I guess that's not too much of a surprise, but to hear it put so starkly, like we are making 10 live service games, what's your first reaction to that, Mike? Because I know some fans are like, but I like God of War, and I don't think God of War is going anywhere. But what do you think?
I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that it's a brute force way of making sure at least one of them hits, right?
Yes, absolutely.
They're buying a lot of lottery tickets,
Yes.
and they're going to see which one of these is going to stick. Like at least if you make 10 of them, I mean, if you put all your eggs in one live service game, who knows if that's going to be a hit? It could be a Hyperscape situation, right?
Absolutely.
Like, oh, this is our one live service game. We hope it's a hit. So it kind of makes sense. Like, get everybody to work on one. And nobody's working just on a live service game. Insomniac is going to make a live service game on top of Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank and Naughty Dog on top of everything else that they're doing. So I think it actually makes sense to kind of brute force it a little bit and see which 2 or 3 of them are doing really well and need to be supported, and those can kind of become, you know, maybe none of them are going to be like a Fortnite, but maybe like your Apex Legends, and those are the ones that you can support pretty strong going forward, and that can be a big part of your strategy now, along with these AAA single player games.
Yeah, and it's very much it's similar to the mobile model where mobile games are cheaper to produce. So what you do is you spend a pretty big budget making a lot of them, and hopefully one of them sticks. And if one of them sticks, the ceiling for the amount of money it can make is very high. So it helps pay for all the other bets. Obviously, like what you were saying with buying a lot of lottery tickets. The whole idea there is one of these is going to pay off and then some for all of these bets. And it's a smart move to a certain extent. And again, like it's the main things that PlayStation makes aren't going anywhere. If anything, they want a big live service game to keep paying for the development of these big budget games that are getting more and more expensive at all times. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, we know like, you know, the movie and film thing is the movie and film is the same things. Film and TV is so important to them, and you kind of need those big single player things to make those off of, right? Like,
yes.
you know, Fortnite doesn't lend itself so much to TV and movies as say a God of War does, obviously.
Yep. Jim Ryan says we should expect more acquisitions for PlayStation in the future. Kind of, again, not too surprising. The environment is ripe for this sort of thing. It's never been as ripe as it is right now. It's just going to keep happening. They're going to have to keep making moves, because if they don't, things are going to get taken off the table, and they want to be involved in those conversations.
Well, and gosh, imagine how many people are going to be like kind of maybe very interested in being acquired by Sony if it's like, oh wow, we could still make games for Xbox. They're going to give all of our employees money, right? Everyone talk about, is consolidation good or bad? There's of course bad sides to it. I don't think there are many people at Bungie right now who think it's too bad. I'll tell you what.
Right. It's like, I think like when we talk about consolidation and the problems with it, a lot of people ignore the reality on the ground of like, what is the reality of the landscape that we're looking at? And it's, if we go from a world where Bungie is kind of struggling just to like make sure that's putting out enough content so it can justify its own future, to okay, now its future's guaranteed, and they can do even more, and they can like pass on their knowledge to a bunch of other studios. Like, there's obviously a lot of benefits here. Now, I mean, a few companies controlling everything, of course, very scary, but I don't know, gaming seems very healthy otherwise, in terms of the amount of games that we're getting at least. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on this before we move on. Yeah, okay. So this thing, like, yeah, more acquisitions. We're gonna probably hear about them. I don't know, maybe before the end of this fiscal year for Sony, which would be by March, but probably not. Probably hear it by like later this year. They'll keep their options open. They'll keep having their conversations. But I mean, Mike, do you have any guess about who it would be? Like, I know everyone wants to do this little dance, because I don't really know.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I said Square Enix before. I still think that makes sense, but it's always something you don't see coming. I didn't see Bungie coming. Gosh, I didn't see Xbox and Activision Blizzard coming. That's for sure.
Neither.
And like right now, everything is possible. So it's so hard to predict. Really, it really is.
I agree. That's I think everything being possible does make it actually significantly harder. Where it's like any reason that you might take something off the table, it's like, but then again, like they could make it work. If they really wanted to make it happen, they would find a way to make it happen. So yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, moving on. The Xbox ABK acquisition is going to be reviewed by the FTC in the United States. Really, what this means is it's not like, oh, the FTC is looking into this. That's a problem. It was the FTC is looking in this and not the Department of Justice is kind of what the story is really here. It's like one of the two was going to look into it. FTC is going to look into it. I don't know if that's like means there's like a lesser scrutiny than what the DOJ might have had. For some reason, I associate the DOJ with something more serious, but maybe I'm just making that up in my head.
You're just terrified of justice.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly where I'm at. And Federal Trade Communication sounds like a bunch of like mall cops for all I care.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They do have the power to break this up if they so choose, but it does seem like it would be very unlikely that would happen.
Now I'm literally just picturing like Paul Blart and Jack Reacher representing each of them.
That's exactly right. We'll get the results of this in many months. They're going to take a long time looking through the details of this deal, and they'll come back and tell us why it's a problem or why it's going to go through. You hurt yourself? Are you okay? What? You hurt your nose? Oh no!
You don't need that.
Yeah, you don't need your nose. Go lay down on the beanbag. You'll be okay. I'll be up in a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, he'll be like an hour and a half. Actually, he's lying. It's
well,
not.
Mama will be home here in like 10 minutes, so hopefully.
We're holding out. We're lying until then.
Listen, man, lies is how you get by. If I'm being completely honest. Let's see. Ghostwire Tokyo previews are out. I got a hands-off preview with Ghostwire Tokyo, which makes me feel really ill-equipped to speak to this game. Really, Mike. It's like I'm like sitting in this hands-off preview, sort of like. Okay, but if I could play it, then I would really know. But I was going to say, do you have any questions?
I mean, I read your preview, and I'm just kind of happy that like you're describing it more like Ghostbusters and less like an actual scary thing, which is good for me because I'm not a big horror guy. I don't really like being scared. So maybe for other people it's distressing, but I'm kind of happy to hear it's more of just an action open world game than we're expecting.
Yeah, it's very, and I think the comparison to Ghostbusters is key because a lot of like the ghost in Ghostbusters, it's not like sometimes it's this person died and turned into a ghost, but a lot of times it's just like this concept of hate is turned into the slime and stuff like that, and this concept of gluttony turned into Slimer or whatever. And it's like okay, so like conceptual ghosts and spirits is a big part of Japanese yokai or whatever. And it's like cool to see that stuff turned into sort of like an adult action game, not like adult like XXX, but like an action.
I figured it wasn't porn, Jeff. But
it's not a porno, but it's like.
Thank you for clarifying that.
The alternative thing is like Yokai Watch. It's like the thing where I'm like, sure. That's where I know yokai from. That's how I know yokai now. So it's like, but this is not for that same audience. This is for an older audience, and I don't know. I think they're doing a really good job with presenting an action adventure game in that setting. So it's definitely like an open world game. There's exploration. I haven't seen any like human NPCs on the map. It's like this empty Tokyo world. And that could be like, obviously one of the reasons you make that decision is because, well, it's easier to make an open world. There's fewer people in it. I mean, that's one of the reasons like Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's like, it takes place after this calamity and there's very few people around. That's the story. But the real reason is you don't want 1 million people running around in your world. And so it's the same thing here, but it works. It makes it feel very eerie and mystical and magical, like you are on this alternative plane and you're the one human here who's dealing with these cats and dogs who can travel between the planes, and tanukis, and there's a magical floating cat yokai who runs a bodega, and I wrote about that today. It seems really cool, and I think the magic TikTok dancing, I'm going to take out ghosts with my Doctor Strange magic. That stuff looks cool. I really feel though I need to get my hands on it and play it to know if it actually is going to be cool. Right now, it just sort of looks like fun. I hope it's fun. We'll have to wait and see though.
Sounds good.
Phil Spencer's going to get a Lifetime Achievement Award at the AIAS Awards, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science Awards, which is the DICE Awards. Mike, I don't have much to say about this. I don't I don't have feelings about Lifetime Achievement Awards, so I don't know. Do you, Mike?
No. I mean, I got nothing against him or the award. It's nice. I think I imagine his work and his compensation for it is its own reward, but
Yep.
it's sure he can have his day. He can have a toast to him. That's fine.
Yeah, I have nothing against this. I think this is fine. I think he's built himself up, and he's built up Xbox in a way that is reminiscent of some of the other industry luminaries that you would want to give this award to, like Iwata and stuff like that. I mean, no one is Iwata, but if someone was approaching it, I would say, yeah, Phil Spencer, sure.
I guess I do worry about we're getting close to that kind of deifying stage again. Like, remember the Gaben thing for a while?
Yes.
Where it was like, Gaben this, Gaben that, Gaben's our god. And it was kind of a joke, but also kind of not.
Yeah.
And it only stopped because he stopped making games, so people stopped caring about him.
Yes.
Really. I mean, we used to do it to Josh Whedon, right? And I'm not saying Phil Spencer's going to go off the rails or something, but I always just get uncomfortable when we build people up very, very high,
Yes, I 100. I'm right there with you. Where it's like I am overdoing that to people, and I'm just going to not assume the worst, but I'm going to assume that if I knew them, there's a strong chance I wouldn't like them. And
right. We're guilty of it too. We do it to people like Reggie and everything, right?
Yeah.
We all need I don't even know if we need heroes, but we need icons, right?
Yes, and literally iconography, where it's just fun to use them in a meme. Where yes, that's exactly right. Let's see. GT7, Gran Turismo 7 got a state of play. Mike, you kind of did a reporting on this. Anything to report? That I watched that video. It was very horny for cars.
Yeah. I have to say, all you guys this thing's horny for cars. I think it's you guys who have the problem, and not Gran Turismo, to be clear. Gran Turismo is it's very reverent for cars, Jeff. You're the ones who are making it sexual.
Listen,
You're the ones who are being
just
weird.
Talking in this low voice about how
it's cool. I like it.
Pipe looks like a vagina, and I'm gonna.
That doesn't.
That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. No, I love the vibe of the game. It's all very again, it's an intense reverence, but there's also this calming thing. One of the what I find interesting is there's this hub area called Gran Turismo Cafe, and it's sort of it's like a virtual cafe, and you go there and there's menus, and the menus are basically objectives, right. And you fill these objectives, and then a guy, a disembodied voice, and maybe that disembodied voice is a person who actually made the car, will tell you about cars and why cars are cool, and you'll probably find it sexual for some reason. And it's just stuff like that. When you go to the car dealership, it looks almost like a museum, and there are timelines of these pictures and all this info. The whole theme here in the presentation, both from State of Play and the one that I kind of got in this press preview, is it's cars are great and we want more people to like cars. And as somebody who got yelled at for not liking cars enough and admitting as much in my Forza Horizon 5 preview, I was like, oh, that seems interesting. That seems like a pretty good pitch. So I think it looks really good, Jeff. I think it
looks good too.
I think the people who like Gran Turismo a lot and have been disappointed in that series for the last 10 or more years, they seem high on it. They seem optimistic about this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks really good. I'll be there to check it out. I mean, it's one of their big games this year, so it's I'm excited. It's cross-gen, and yet it still looks very next-gen.
Yeah, it is cross-gen. It still looks very good. I mean, so it has a ray tracing mode, but they are basically you probably just want to use that for things like taking pictures and replays. You probably don't want to drive with that.
That makes sense.
We did a Q&A thing too with, I can't remember his name, the Gran Turismo guy, and he did say it was a big challenge to release it for both platforms, but looks like they're coming out on the other end of that just
Sonori or something. I can't remember. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember his name, but yeah, fair enough.
People forget, like, Gran Turismo 1, like, in PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, Gran Turismo was maybe, I think it was, like, the biggest franchise
It
for
was
the
massive.
systems.
It was
It was
massive, yeah.
huge.
At a certain
It was a
point, though,
giant
the
deal.
wheels got round enough that everyone's like, okay, it's good enough. And then we got more and more. And it
Right.
was like, diminishing returns was going to hit that
Right.
franchise harder than most other franchises.
Well, there was 2 for PlayStation 3, and I know at least one of them was people were really disappointed with the amount of content. There was, like, high-res cars, and a lot of them were, like, not as nicely done, so
Right.
there's just
Only certain
discrepancy.
cars got the full love and attention, and some got left behind, yes.
And then there was, like, and then for PlayStation 4, the only PlayStation 4 Gran Turismo was Sport, and it was obsessed with online play, which seemed like a weird move for that audience,
Yeah.
right?
Now, there was an audience that came back around and said that online play got very good. It was a very good way to spend time with your friends who also like cars. But
Right.
that was like a slow build back up after disappointment at the beginning.
But it sounds like this game, like, has all those online features also, but it's still,
Right.
like, it's very much just, still something you can just kind of chill and vibe with on your own. But yeah, I mean, I certainly am more interested in it after all these presentations than I was before. So, mission accomplished.
Excellent. Now, are you excited about linking your PlayStation account with your Discord?
I did, so I don't
Me
know if
too.
I was excited about it, but I did do that.
Yeah, it seems like it's just right now. It's just rich presence for the most part. Like, hey, what game you're playing on your PlayStation? We can show your friends on Discord, whether they're on phone or PC or wherever. If they're on Xbox, I think you can view stuff on Discord through Xbox. Well, you can at least get rich presence through Xbox as well. I was hoping for more, so I hope more is still on the way. But I don't know if they've confirmed whether or not this is it or not. But I did it. I want people to know what I'm playing. Sure, why not? That's fun. It's cool to know what your friends are playing through one app. That's actually pretty handy if you have a group of people that you play with.
Unless you have to turn that off on Discord because you're playing Honey Pop and you didn't want anybody to see.
Right, exactly. This is a problem with me on Steam all the time. Slay Girl Sarah, whatever it's called. I can't let people see I'm playing that. Let's see. Sony plan. Okay, no, we already talked. Sony plans to ship 10 live service games. This is the story I was looking for, and I buried it. Let's see. Nintendo took down over 4,000 uploads of soundtracks on YouTube. Primarily hitting a YouTuber named Gilva Sunner, who is going to stop doing this. Going to stop uploading Nintendo music. Mike, I'm kind of frustrated about this a little bit because I want to listen to that music, and there's no real great way to just find it all in one place.
Yeah, like why? Like just okay, Nintendo will
Just
then
monetize
start
it.
uploading this. Yeah, monetize it. Put it on these streaming services. Like some companies are much better about that than others. Like Sega, Capcom, or not Konami, Square Enix make decent efforts of getting a lot of their game soundtracks on these platforms. Nintendo does almost nothing with that. So like, just do it then. If you're so concerned about other people doing it, that's the only reason it exists is because you're not doing it. And they're like, they did something for Diamond and Pearl, right? Where they released some of that stuff, some of that music. I didn't quite totally look into that. So like maybe we're getting around to it, but it's Nintendo. If they do move on it, it's going to be so half-assed and so slow that there's going to always be fans taking matters into their own hands there unless they get really serious about it, and they're not going to.
Mike, we've got more than 600 people watching, so let's jump to this story that we teased in the title. Rockstar confirmed Grand Theft Auto 6 is in active development. This was announced at the end of a blog post about GTA 5's update to next gen and GTA Online's update to next gen. And they also announced it on Twitter. And basically all they said is we are going to confirm it's in active development. We know a lot of people have been wondering because GTA 5's been around for so long. They said because of GTA 5's like unprecedented longevity, we wanted to confirm this. And then that was it. That's all they said. They didn't say like, and we're hiring. Here's our hiring page. And they didn't say like, oh, here's a teaser image. Here's a font treatment for GTA 6 or anything like that. It was just, we are making the next one. What do you make of this?
This is weird even for how these things have been going. Because like usually they're all about recruitment drives.
Yeah.
But this one, like first off, everyone knew that they're making Grand Theft Auto 6, right? It's like, well, like, who do you need to tell this? Would you need to tell prospective buyers? Again, if let's say Sony or Microsoft really wanted Rockstar or Take-Two or whatever, they know what they're working on. They know they're working on a Gran Turismo 6. And if they were talking, they would just tell them. It wouldn't even be a secret. The only people I can imagine this is for investors, and maybe the next earnings aren't going to be great. We already saw that happen with Activision Blizzard, and maybe this is about like, well, that wasn't great, but ha, we got Grand Theft Auto 6 coming, And we didn't announce it just today when we released our earnings, because that would be, kind of pathetic. But we announced it a few weeks ago. See?
Yeah, I mean, it's a few days ago. So today's Friday.
Yeah.
The earnings are Monday. So
okay, so a few days, not even that far away. I can't imagine what else it would be for, Jeff.
Yeah, I think even if the earnings are pretty good, if there's like any weakness in the outlook, if there was a decrease in the active player numbers for Grand Theft Auto, that might be enough for them to be like,
it might not be a disaster, but there's some kind of metric,
maybe
and
there's
they're
something. Yeah,
there's something. I don't know. I can't imagine. It's weird. It's very weird. And I mean, look, would it have been better if, like, at the next, I don't know, E3, they made a Grand Theft Auto 6 logo and put it up there? I don't know. Maybe that would have been better.
I think it would have been. It would have been less conspicuous, right? Like this seems to stick out in a weird way. People have said to me on Twitter, and they're like, oh, they've announced sort of their other games will sort of like a low key way. And then Cade Onder, who pays a lot of attention to this stuff, I think he writes over. I'm not gonna be able to remember Cade. I'm sorry. He was pointing out like they almost always have at least a logo or a teaser trailer or something to go along with that. It's never this low key. This does feel like quick messaging as like, hey, what can we do to stymie some concerns that might happen in the next couple of days? I mean, this maybe we're wrong. We could be wrong. Monday we'll know for sure. We'll know for sure on Monday because they'll come out with their earnings and we'll be able to go through there and we'll have this conversation next week about what was in there that might have been that weakness that they were worried about. And if it's not there, we'll be like, okay, so maybe this is just how they wanted to announce it. Maybe really it was just about hiring people and they just forgot to put the link to the hiring page in the announcement post. But it doesn't feel that way. Right now, it feels like we're probably going to see something on Monday that's going to be related to this.
Kate, that screen rant first off,
screen
and then
thank you. Yes,
it doesn't have anything to do with acquisitions because again, like you would think everybody would know that they're working on that.
Yeah,
would coming out and saying, yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 is official.
I mean, maybe so it's a publicly traded company. Maybe this is like directed at the investor who is kind of like thinks he understands gaming, but he's like, why haven't we heard about Grand Theft Auto 6? Are they even making it? And he's like, okay, no, we're making it. So now you can like lodge that in your stupid investor brain. And when people come and say, hey, we want to acquire you, now you're going to be loud about, well, you know, we got to raise the price because Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming any minute now. There could be some like dealing with Neanderthal brain investors that they're trying to deal with. So I think that's a possibility, and that could be trying to stave off. Like I made the joke, like it's going to come out the same time as Beyond Good and Evil 2, because it did strike me a little bit as a possibility. Like this could be like maybe warding off acquisition talks of some sort. But that also could just be us reading too much into an environment that surrounds us that might have nothing to do with this specific case. Right. But again, I think we'll know on Monday. By Monday,
the whole situation begs being read into. I'll tell you what.
I agree. So we talk about like this announcement and the weirdness. What is GTA 6, Mike?
What is GTA 6? Well, I'll tell you what. It's going to have a giant online component. That's for sure. I mean, look. I imagine it'll be a very big open world game, and I imagine it'll probably go back to Vice City because why not? That's the one it's been. Although it's been so long now, they could also just go back to Liberty City again. I don't think they'll do something new. Maybe they'll do something new. I don't know. I think it's just going to. It is weird, Jeff, right? Because expectations are really going to be in overdrive now.
Someone in chat just said, Mitsaka said, give us, I tell you what, merch. And I do like, that is Mike's, his go-to phrase. And I like
is that I tell you, I do say that a lot, don't I?
You always say that when you're like, I got an idea. And I'm like, yeah, he's all right. I'm like, always like when he says that, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go.
Great. I was like, I love being pointed out these weird, I had no idea. I say that all the time. That's great. I tell you what, I'm going to I'll get that printed.
Well, we'll get some merch going here real soon. That'll be one of the first ones for sure.
Yeah, we'll get a big cartoon character of my face screaming. It'll be good.
Someone did that with me, but they put me on a penis shaft, Mike, in our Discord. So.
Well, I hope I'm treated with slightly more reverence than that.
Okay. Well, we can move on from this, but I'll say like the online mode. I don't know if they do online too, or if they just kind of update online mode. It'll probably be a lot easier to tell. Like once we get this new next gen version, like if it feels like a significant upgrade, it'd be like okay, maybe they could just keep this going for a long time.
But it should be a significant upgrade. I think it's going to have a new mode. Like, I mean, GTA 5 did really well, and I know it's so popular, but it's getting old. And for something like that, that does matter. Like, there are some things where it doesn't, like, World of Warcraft never really mattered how old it got. For Grand Theft Auto Online, that's got to matter a little bit how old it's getting and how old it's maybe even starting to look now.
I agree. All right, let's get through some of these other stories. We got a lot to get through still, and then we got the super chats piling up in the questions. According to Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, Suicide Squad has been delayed to 2023. Mike, I didn't even know it was coming out in 2022, so I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I tell you what, now I'm going to do it on purpose. It's going to really ruin it. Part of me is like, I wonder if this is so they could add Peacemaker to it. Now that show's popular, maybe this.
That's the thought right there. Yeah,
but I mean, it's probably just typical stuff. It's just the typical COVID, working from home, game development's hard anyway stuff.
Peacemaker's the first DLC with the second season, right? That's probably what they do. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
They definitely are going to want to attach it to any sort of like rising rocket coming out of the Suicide Squad stuff, because where's Suicide Squad right now? Let's see. There's a Warcraft mobile title scheduled for this year. There's a couple. They put up some like things about we are hiring for this, so making a big deal about trying to get that game ready. Mike, what do you feel about a Warcraft mobile title?
I mean, this is interesting because this was like what Bobby Kotick and a lot of the brass were talking about before the acquisition, and maybe even before, like, you know, a lot of the investigations, is that their big strategy was getting more of their IP on mobile, because Call of Duty Mobile did so well. And then they already brought Crash Bandicoot to mobile, and they've been saying for a while, we want to get more Blizzard IP on mobile. They're obviously doing it with Diablo. So we knew this was coming. I'm surprised it's coming this year already. And again, there's a huge question of what is this and what does it look like? I assume it's some kind of mobile strategy game. Some kind of free-to-play strategy game thingy. Like, why not?
To me, like Clash Royale almost is kind of what I would imagine. Like something like Clash Royale, just like sending recognizable Warcraft units at each other in like a card game sort of environment. Like, that's what I think.
It's not going to be as complex as an actual like Warcraft RTS or anything like that.
I mean, maybe as complex as a Fire Emblem Mobile, whatever it is, Fire Emblem Fates, something along those lines. That's not Fates. What is it called on mobile?
Fire Emblem. Gosh, you said Fates. Is that not right? I think maybe that is.
Is it right? Okay, maybe so.
I think that is right, actually.
Okay. Cyberpunk PS5
Fire Emblem Heroes. Fire Emblem Heroes.
There we go. Fates was the second one on was the most recent one.
Yes. That's
whatever.
Fates was the follow-up to Awakening.
Yes.
There we go. Getting confusing.
Yes,
right, yeah.
Cyberpunk got a new cover art on PlayStation 5 that was spotted by the PS database. This update's imminent. Like, it has been imminent for months and months, and they've kept pushing it back. So no surprise that they have art ready for this, like ready to go. They've uploaded, but this does feel like it means it should be coming soon. And I would expect it in the next couple of months at the latest, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I have not touched Cyberpunk yet. I was going to wait for the next gen update. So part of me is almost like excited. It's like basically a new game for me. And I'm kind of interested to go into it from that perspective and just treat it as this game that just came out for PlayStation 5. How is Cyberpunk?
I mean, that's a viable way to experience it. Like, I think a lot of people are going to be right there with you. Like, waiting on that game after, like, the trash fire at the beginning, that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of CD Projekt Red, they are working on a new single-player Gwent game for 2022. It's called Project Golden Nectar. Nectar? I gotta be careful how I say that word. That's Mike, they did this already a couple times, I thought.
Yeah, there was other Gwent games. I don't know, I'm confused. People really like Gwent. I'll tell you what, I'll be honest, Jeff. As far as in-game card game goes, I was never even that big of a Gwent fan to begin with. I don't know. Maybe I just never gave it enough of a chance. Give me Pazak any day.
It's no Pazak, yeah.
It's no Pazak. Gosh, people love those. They're adding one of these to Elder Scrolls Online. I don't think we talked about it. They announced like their new expansion thing soon, and they're adding an in-game card game. So
of course,
right, and that's funny because like they had Elder Scrolls Legends, which kind of came and went. Right.
The reason Pazak's good is because it's blackjack, and it's like space blackjack, so it's got more stuff going on. What these games really need is just casinos. Just like do what GTA Online did, and just have a full casino in there.
You know, Final Fantasy 14 is a casino. And it's great.
Oh, there you go. See, that's why it's so popular. It makes sense.
It's a casino where you never lose. It's just a matter of how much of the casino points that you win.
Incredible.
I love it. I love it.
Let's see. Yoshinori Kitase said at the 25th anniversary stream of Final Fantasy VII, we might get new info about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 at the end of this year. So we didn't get more info about this, but we might get it by the end of this year. So, Mike, there's a lot of Final Fantasy stuff happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
We got to hear about Final Fantasy 16. We got to hear about Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2. There is the ongoing concern of Final Fantasy 14. There is Final Fantasy Origins, which isn't out yet. Like, how do you like parse? Like, how do you space all these things out?
Yeah, it seems weird because it seems like you want to focus very heavily on Origins and also Forspoken, which is kind of Final Fantasy adjacent, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
15 team working on that. And then Final Fantasy 14 is still this big concern. There's a live letter later this month, I believe, where we're going to. It's titled "The Next 10 Years of Final Fantasy 14."
Oh wow!
So we're going to start getting a roadmap of the future of that game's going to look like for the next decade. So that game, again, it's getting support for at least another decade. So that's big. And then 16 is really important. But so is Final Fantasy 7 Part 2. And it is the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy 7. And they're kind of making a deal out of it. Like it has like a logo. They have stuff planned for it. At some point this year, yes, we're going to see something of Final Fantasy 7 Part 2. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it's, again, like just like a cover art thing. If it's just like a render of Vincent or something, right? Like I don't know how in-depth it'll be. It's not going to come out this year.
No,
we'll definitely see something of it.
Yep. Let's see, let's see. Someone reminded me that Chocobo, Benji Bop said, "Don't forget Chocobo GP is coming." Hi, Emmy. How'd your doctor's appointment go? Nice. All right, good. I'm glad to hear. She had to go get her eyes checked. So she just got back from seeing Mike's dad. There we go.
Yeah, so it could be our future together, Jeff.
Well, I'll pass it by the wife and see how she feels about moving back to Ohio.
Imagine coming over for Wednesday night Dynamite.
Oh, that would be fun. It would be nice to have someone to go watch wrestling with.
I'll integrate you to my actual friend group. It'll be great. You'll like some of them.
Weird. Some of them are okay. Let's see. While Horde and Alliance players can play together, Mike, just give me the brief.
Well, so the game director told me this in the interview I'd had with him a few months ago. I was the one who was like, "Is this happening?" And he was like, "Probably."
The first time that he'd ever said probably, right? Anyone had said probably to that.
They were always very stoutly against this, and now it's coming earlier than I thought. I thought it would come with the next expansion. It's coming in an update before that, and there's some caveats to it, but basically for dungeons and for raids, Horde Alliance players can play together finally. And it just makes all the sense in the world. Why arbitrarily split your player base in half, especially when the player base is dwindling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad this is finally happening because I know there's plenty of times where I've been forced to be on Horde when I want to play Alliance, but I have to be on Horde because that's where most of the people who I want to raid with are.
Okay, but this just like it felt like an inevitable sort of end of life update for this game. It just like it felt like maybe doing this kind of admits something about the state of the game, and that's why they were afraid of doing it.
No, it's not entirely just about dwindling player base. This should have probably happened a bit ago.
Okay.
I think they were always a bit too into the whole idea of Horde versus Alliance as a core component of the game when it hadn't been for a long time. And even when they did that whole they did that whole expansion that was really like, we're really bringing back Horde and Alliance, and nobody liked it, right? People didn't, aside from like the mechanical and system problems of that expansion, people just didn't really like the theme of, oh, we're at war with each other, because it never really kind of felt like we were. The game's not really super well equipped for that stuff. And again, games more than ever are about social experiences, and just kind of splitting up your player base like that, it's just kind of weird in 2022.
Speaking of weird for 2022, Team 17, the company behind Worms and is a publisher for a lot of games, announced Worms NFTs, and their partners and developers and fans of Worms and gamers and everybody said, "Hey, we don't like this. This sucks." Yeah. And so then they said, "We're not going to do this anymore." And they canceled it after 2 days.
Yeah, it felt like less time than that. It was super fast. I'll tell you what, those Worms NFTs were even uglier than most NFTs. And I got pitched vulva NFTs last week. So, not that vulvas are ugly, but you know what I mean.
Yes, go on the record and correct yourself there. Yes.
Yes, please.
Along the same tip here, Troy Baker apologized for his shitty NFT scam. This is Knuble editorializing, but I appreciate it. It definitely was another one of those.
Yes.
And he it took him a couple weeks, but he has also said,
yes, I imagine he was doing, I like imagining him in like his study doing research for 2 weeks. It's like, what did I actually agree to?
Yeah, let me see what I've said I'm going to do here. Oh, this does stink. I don't like this one bit. Sorry I called you all haters. And he basically did say, he's like, so sorry for saying your haters for just disagreeing.
Something, the man in the arena, something.
The man in the arena. All right. Yacht Club announced Mina the Hollower, a game inspired by Link's Awakening, and that's also editorialized based on a great headline from Mike Minotti. They have already funded their Kickstarter, and it's coming to all systems. It still doesn't have a date, but it should be soon, right?
It's hard to say soon, right? I don't know. Like this Kickstarter isn't necessarily funding most of the development, like they're doing that themselves. The Kickstarter seems to be because, for Shovel Knight, right? They were able to basically make 3 additional games on top of Shovel Knight from the funds that they collected from that.
Right.
I imagine it's a bit of that with this. Like maybe they can support this thing for a while, and also like they can do weird things like in Shovel Knight 1, fans got to design enemies and even some bosses and stuff like that. But this game looks so good. It's literally Link's Awakening DX meets Castlevania, which just, wow. Does that sound up my alley?
Yeah, I mean, the Game Boy Color aesthetics are just, they pop off the screen the second you look at it. And every time you look at, every time it switches from, one screen to the next screen, there's more, eye candy in terms of anyone who is into, I'm wearing my Game Boy Color sweatshirt today, and we don't have to get into the fight, Mike, but
no, it's played out for a couple months now.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back around to it, but it's like seeing that art, it is immediately nostalgic and gorgeous in its way. And they understand what makes it so appealing and so attractive to look at, and they play that stuff up. It is just a feast for the eyes for me. I can't wait to play it, and I'm really hoping it comes out. That was maybe me being optimistic because I just want to play this game so bad.
I don't know if it's coming out this year. I wish, but the question is, does it come out before or after Silk Song? Right?
Yeah, I bet before. I bet it comes out before, but. Oh man! According to Business Insider, Google is trying to salvage Stadia. Focused internally now mostly on business-to-business games, and again, this is the white label stuff we always talk about, where they have the tech, they're going to let you put your label on it and say, "Hey, stream our game through our service," and it's really running on Stadia. They were working with Peloton to bring games to the bikes, so that would have been something, I guess. And then, but the budget for third-party deals got diminished. Which, if people don't remember, they were making some stupid big money deals for games that had already been out for a long time, huge amounts of money going to games that oh, we're gonna get them just on Stadia, not exclusively, just on Stadia, and people were happily taking that money and then going back and putting the games on real platforms as well.
Yes.
And then and Phil Harrison no longer reports to Rick Osterloh, and he moved back to London. Phil Harrison. And they were working with Bungie on a Destiny streaming platform, but unsure after the acquisition situation about the future of that deal. So I would imagine that future, that deal is probably not looking too bright right now because Sony has their own streaming technology. Mike, any thoughts about Stadia, or should we just move on?
Man, no. Look, I don't know. My very petty thought is that I was right all along about Stadia, which wasn't exactly me being super out on my own. I think plenty of other people are also feeling that. But I always think about that GDC, man, when they pushed it very hard and some people really got swept up in it. And I don't know. Every single time with this cloud streaming technology, we were like, the cloud, it's, oh, wow, it does it could look as good as possible. And we know it's just not true. The more graphically intense these things are, the harder it is to stream them. So the whole the promise of the technology is a lie in many ways, even. So, and then their implementation of it was awful. So what is there to salvage, Jeff? I don't know.
For people who are gonna write in or about any of the things that Mike got a little bit wrong there, know that his overall point is that he doesn't believe in cloud, and that's the real takeaway there. And the reason I'm not arguing with him about it is because I don't necessarily disagree with the overall take there. So I'm not going to argue the specific points.
Look, I don't know. Then why is it that when these Kingdom Hearts 3 gets cloud streaming, it's terrible, but when you want to cloud stream something that's less intense than that, it works better? I don't know. I don't pretend to understand it, but somebody's lying about something, Jeff.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Somebody's wrong.
There's a million things that can go wrong, and that's kind of the real point, is that
sure,
you could have one game work really well over one service in one spot, and then you could have another game in the same spot use different tech, and now it's not working well, and it's and that's going to be different for everywhere. There's still a ton of headaches, a lot more points of failure, and it's the kind of thing where if I'm serious about gaming, I am just going to go buy the hardware, and most people still think that way, which is why I continue to be People are like, oh, people are just going to take their DualShock and DualSense controllers and go connect it to their TV, and that's how they're going to play Xbox games if they're going to stream them to their TV. I'm like, the people that own PlayStations don't want to do that. They don't. They're just going to keep buying games on PlayStation instead. So it's not a real solution to the problem, like getting all these gamers.
Jeff, remember when I was talking about how we build people up sometimes just to watch them fall? Well, Brie Larson just got into NFTs. She has an NFT.
Yeah, I saw that chat, and I'm like,
I saw that. I was looking like, oh, it's very ugly, by the way. It's a flower.
Like, honey, please don't do it. Don't do it.
Right? Yeah. No, that's. So she's the new person that's going to get shouted down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Probably had no idea. Probably has no idea.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's probably
right.
in her mid right now.
The issue for Brie Larson is like, if you're Brie Larson and people begin harassing you about doing that, you assume that it's the bad faith actors who always harass you because you're Brie Larson.
Right.
And like, it's going to take her a second to realize, oh, these are like people who like me trying to warn me off this thing. It's going to take her a second. That stinks. So yeah, don't feel great for her.
I'll tell you which one of these things like almost made sense to me, Jeff, was the GameStop one. Because GameStop's fan base now is speculators and crypto bros, right? So like
that one's like the merit, like Dean was writing that story. He's like, Jeff, you checked this. I'm like, Dean, you said that it's going to make some gamers mad, and then you pointed out rightly that the GameStop people are going to be like, hey, this is for us. I'm like, you nailed this story. This is right. Like, this is the one time where this marriage makes a lot of sense in this hell world that we live in.
Awful. Yeah, I hate it. But I tell you what,
we already all hated GameStop for the most.
If you told me I was in charge of GameStop and how am I going to make GameStop people happy, I was like, I bet they will like NFTs. I tell you what.
I didn't see what happened to their stock after that. I bet it went up though. All right, let's see. Release dates: MLB The Show coming April 5th to Xbox Game Pass once again, and it's also coming to PlayStation and the Switch. And Nintendo Switch is the new platform for MLB The Show. Ghostwire Tokyo, we talked about this earlier. I don't know if I mentioned the release date. They announced that it's coming March 25th. Kind of a surprise because, I mean, they did say spring.
It's soon.
But it's like soon and also not delayed in the way you thought maybe it could have been delayed again because they haven't not announced the release date yet. Yeah. Voice of Cards, The Forsaken Maiden is for February 17th, and I know what that is.
Me too. I know what that is the most.
Acquisitions, New York Times bought Wordle for low 7 figures. I bet. Do you think that means 1 million or 2 million or like 3 million? It's like those are the low ones, right?
Oh, I don't know.
To me, this just means $1 million. Is kind of what that means.
Is that what you think? I'd cash out. I'd take that 1 million.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. You put $1 million into like an investment, and makes you like $50,000 a year. That's like a full-time job.
I thought we knew exactly what they bought them for, though.
No, they've only said low 7 figures. If you want to check it, you can. But that's what they said. Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, known very much for their fandom of wrestling, has bought a minority stake in Nexon and Capcom worth $1.2 billion. So this is part of them, the whole like investment fund, Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. Saudi Arabia's entire economy is built on oil. It's a private company, Saudi Arabco or something like that. I can't remember, Aramco. If that company was public, it would be by far the biggest corporation in the history of the world. It's not public though; it's private. It's like a $1 trillion company. They're trying to diversify their economy for the future, so it's not just based on oil. So if oil prices go down, suddenly they're like oil poor. So part of that is bringing in all these other technologies and stuff, and saying, hey, we're going to be a hub for making games, and that's what this is about. We're going to be a hub for watching wrestling and esports and stuff. So.
How do they feel about Mega Man?
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta. It's probably against their religion, probably somehow. Mega Man.
To be clear, yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Video game M&As and this mergers and acquisitions in 2021 was $85 billion in total for the entire of 2021. Guess what that number was for January 2022, Mike?
What was that? I don't know. What was it?
$85 billion.
Jesus Christ.
In 1 month, it is matched to the same total that we had in 2021. It's going to have to cool off a little bit, but I mean, by the end of this year, I wouldn't be surprised if they've tacked on another 85 billion to that total or something like that. So we'll see. Real quick, we'll get through these numbers. Nintendo reported their earnings, operating profit of 2.27 billion. It's 10%. It's up 10% year over year. The Switch has sold they've shipped 103.5 million Switch systems. Mike, that beats the Wii. So now this is Nintendo's best-selling home console. As much as it's a hybrid, that still counts as being also a home console. Right. And number one, yeah.
The OG DS still seems out of reach. That's like at 150 million.
Yep, 150, yeah.
Right. It was supply issues and everything. It was no pro model. I don't know if Switch is ever going to get to 150 million. Same thing with PlayStation 2 is like the all-time best-selling home console. That's like at 155 million.
Yep.
So probably not going to beat that either. But yes, obviously Switch, giant success.
I think the reasons those numbers might be within reach is because Nintendo president Furukawa said that this is the middle of the Switch's life cycle.
Yeah, but
what do you
Jeff,
think that means?
The middle is anything but the beginning and the end, right?
Okay.
So
okay. No, fair enough.
Like I don't buy into that too much. They might just cheat again, and when the Switch 2 comes out, just combine its sales with the Switch like they did with Game Boy and Game Boy Color anyway.
I'm gonna go edit that story. Right
I like how I said I wouldn't. We were moving past this, and I just did it.
I'm like, here he goes. You're right. That's possible. I still think we're looking at like the end of 2023, early 2024 for the follow up. That is the real follow up, right?
Yeah, I agree. But like some people are like the middle. That means that we're literally in like the middle, and it's like no.
Right, well, so yeah, like you could take this time frame and then double it, and that's when we get the next thing. No, that's not how it's going to work. But yes,
we're clearly over the hill.
Right, we are on the downslope. We've come down on the other side. I think this just might be. It's going to be a slower descent than previous generations for Nintendo specifically, because the Switch is still just so strong. Unprecedentedly so, at least for a home console. I guess their mobile ones, or their handheld ones, have sort of had these long tails before. Let's see. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 43.35 million copies. Just an absurd number that makes me laugh every time I say it. Just absurd.
It's incredible. Keep selling. Why make Mario Kart 9? I know that it would also sell, but like this one is still selling.
It costs money to make it and into market and all this stuff. This one just does it by itself. Yeah.
At least, they're not going to do it before Switch 2 at this point. I really don't think so.
There's kind of. I completely agree.
It could be. I think it'll be a Switch 2 like launch game because why the hell not? But
yeah. Animal Crossing 37.62 million, also just a huge number, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has begun selling faster again, so it's like increasing its lead. Pokemon Gen 4 remakes already at 13.97 million. This is like, that was like 6, 7, maybe 8 weeks after it launched, I think.
Right. And like people don't even seem to like them that much, Jeff.
Right. And it's like it's not selling as fast as Legends Arceus is, it seems like. And so Legends Arceus is just going to be a massive seller this entire spring, this winter and spring.
It's going to sell 20 million copies by the end of the year, I think.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's maybe going to be the next 30 million seller for the Switch, if it can keep up to this pace at all. Of course, the one that we're most concerned with, Metroid Dread. We can have this conversation, Mike. 2.74 million. I feel pretty good about this. I've sort of grappled with it over time and been like, okay, getting near and then past the 3 million mark in a year is actually super impressive. It's done this in not even this is like 3-4 months after its release, not even. So it's pretty good. But Mike, go ahead and bring the glass half empty.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's disappointing, Jeff. I think it's disappointing numbers. Now, look, I don't think it's like bad. It's clearly far from being a flop. I bet Nintendo probably still happy with this. It certainly is making money. But it still seemed to me like the stars were aligned there for Metroid to finally have something of a breakout hit, right? Like, the Switch bump. Like, this isn't even that much of a Switch bump as we've seen for other franchises, like for Luigi's Mansion, and, for other things. The critical reception was so high. It launched with that OLED model. They even marketed this much more than they normally market a Metroid game. So I don't know, Jeff. To me, it seems kind of disappointing. I would have at least thought 3 million. I would have at least thought they would have been able to come out with this earnings and say, Metroid Dread is the best-selling Metroid game right now. Not, it probably will be soon. Like,
it probably already is, honestly. It probably
already is. But, I mean, again, Metroid, I don't, like, what are the legs like for Metroid? It certainly isn't going to be like how it is for some of these other games, but I don't know. Maybe it was me getting too caught up in my own hype here. Like at a certain point, like when it came out,
like I was saying 5 to 7 million. So
right when it came out and we were playing it, and we were so impressed with how good it was, and the reception seemed so good. It seemed like everyone was talking about it. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, 5 million, and I realized now I got overboard there. But I still would have thought we would have been at least 3 million at this point. I'm a little bummed by it. Again, it's just not like it's going to be like, oh, they're not going to make Metroid games anymore. I mean, obviously, aside from Prime 4. But they're probably still going to make 2D Metroid games even. But I'm a little bummed.
Yeah. I definitely think a lot of it is just like, okay, yeah, we were hyped and we were excited, and there was people respond to us being like, yeah, I am too. And I realized there's just a huge portion of the audience and other Nintendo fans who are just like politely letting us go about ourselves while we were getting all hyped up. And they're like, that's nice, honey. I'm just waiting for the next Pokemon.
that's what it's all about. Is that there's always been a Metroid ceiling, and it's always kind of frustrating me because I love Metroid so much, and it seems so obviously good to me. And I was like, maybe this one will break the Metroid ceiling, and it didn't. It didn't do that.
It's still good. It probably already is the best selling Metroid though. So
probably is the best selling Metroid,
congratulations to it. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's obviously doing a lot better than say Samus Returns did. So there's like growth there for sure. And again, it's doing good. It's just I had really high hopes and probably unrealistic hopes, but even like on the generous side of that. What the hell?
Sorry, they probably couldn't even hear that. It probably got eaten up by the NVIDIA broadcast. But alert! We have a new benchmark for whether or not a game is a big breakout success. Luigi's Mansion 3 has now sold 11 million copies, Mike. So if you ain't keep up with Luigi's Mansion 3, get the fuck out of here. Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Luigi's Mansion. Bunch of other games that can't sell 11 million copies, like my boy Luigi. So
my boy Luigi. Jeff, I think like Super Mario Party has already sold like over 5 million. No, not Super Mario Party. That has sold really well. Mario Party Superstars. God, that's confusing. The new one that is basically a remake of older Mario Party games. I think it's certainly outpacing what Final Fantasy VII Remake did.
Yes.
And I don't mean to beat up on Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's just a good example of a game that was very hyped, clearly very expensive, something people asked for years, and like realistically, it's going to sell like 6 million copies, and it's like good. But then Nintendo remakes a Mario Party game, and that's going to eventually end up 6 million. It's going to be a 10 million seller. It's crazy.
Seems like it's going to be probably another 15 million seller, but when it's all said and done with that thing, that's these Mario Party games. That makes you wonder, like, why don't they just put out another Mario Kart? Because they could probably sell another game that's like 20, 30 million copies alongside this other Mario Kart, but I don't know. I get why they don't at the same time.
They did a good job with this kind of finding the angle, right? Like we can now, you could do that for Mario Kart. You could maybe make something like Double Dash again, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if people go for it.
Let's see. Meta, the VR department made $10 billion in a loss, which I don't know. We're not going to talk about Meta, but Meta's having a week. Meta used to be Facebook. They still have Facebook, but that's what they used to be called. Their stock price is way down. They're in a bad situation.
I thought 2022 was going to be the year of NFTs in the metaverse, Jeff. I mean, it kind of is.
I think that's why they shifted really before this, like a couple months before this all happened, because they saw this earnings report coming, and they're like, we need to have like a story we could tell people about what our future is that isn't Facebook. So
right, Facebook is not the future. No, exactly. And like, I actually, like, some people are like jumping on like the metaverse pivot has been disaster. Well, we know they're losing money on that because they're only investing in it right now. There's no product there. The real issue is Facebook. It just absolutely it had, for the first time ever, it had fewer users, right, compared to the last quarter.
Yes,
there was no growth ever. Yeah, so
it's that's cataclysmic for them. Sony operating profits up 15% year over year. PlayStation 5 has sold 17.2 million. At the same point, if you line the releases, PS4 had 20.2 million. If you are comparing those numbers and like, is that bad for PS5? It's all about supply constraint. They just don't have enough supply to meet demand. Demand seems to be significantly higher than it even was for the very successful PS4. But that's how much they're struggling to keep up with demand right now. So we talked about like, people say like you can't get PS5, but it's selling just as fast as the PS4 was. That's no longer true. It is beginning to actually be really detrimental. Sony says they'll catch up over time, and they absolutely will. But right now, if you're struggling to find it, this is why. It
must be frustrating, right? Because there's an alternate timeline where they could be sending out press releases like PlayStation 5, fastest selling console ever, and the demand might actually be there to support that. They just can't make enough of the things.
48 million PS Plus subscribers. They still haven't announced anything with Spartacus, but they're probably looking to keep growing those numbers. So keep an eye out for that. 67.5% of all the games they sold were digital. So their digital physical split really going digital like a lot of other companies. Let's see. And then EA reported their stuff. Battlefield 2042 didn't meet expectations. EA has no plans to get acquired by a bigger company, which is a weird way of thinking about it. Like, we don't have plans to get bought out, but sometimes those plans change.
I mean, what are they going to say, right? Like, we'll probably get bought out, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Activision Call of Duty Vanguard sold less than Cold War. Revenue for Call of Duty on PC and console was down year over year. I wrote a story.
You had a great
saying,
headline. You had a great headline. What was it? Tell us.
They're like Activision plans to make more Call of Duty to deal with the declining performance of Call of Duty. And people are like, well, of course they're going to make another Call of Duty next year. This always happens. And I'm like, no, they're also making like they're putting Infinity Ward on Warzone so they can make the Warzone and the next Call of Duty. And they're also making another mobile game. And they also said they have more Call of Duty stuff in the works that they haven't even announced yet. And they're hiring up new studios to do this. I'm like, God, they're not just talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. There's a lot more Call of Duty stuff happening. And just like they have been, all of the talk about like expanding our production capabilities is all about making more Call of Duty still, even at this point. And it's like, okay, I get it. The Modern Warfare 2 probably going to do better than Vanguard, probably going to do better than Black Ops Cold War. But at a certain point, you're going to have a couple of years where you just miss, and it's all on Call of Duty, and it's going to go really sideways. But hey, that's what Microsoft's there for.
Do you think? I thought it was pretty funny how they kind of blamed Vanguard's problem on just the fact that it was set in World War II. Like, people didn't like, that's the big issue. I wonder if we are really going to be hardcore into the Modern Warfare and Cold War brandings now going forward. Are they ever going to try to do like a third pillar thing again?
I mean, the way they described it was like the next one will be from Infinity Ward, and it's going to take place in a broadly appealing. Broadly appealing like time frame and environment, or is how they put it.
I think it's more broadly appealing than Middle Eastern devastation in modern times, I guess. Like, what the hell?
Yes, that's how they put it, though. So it's like, they're definitely saying exactly what you're saying. Like, we're all in on Modern Warfare, and I think that's kind of going to be them for quite some time again. I would be surprised if they go back to any World War for the next 10 years. Like, I think that's just off the table.
Yep.
Let's see. And then Activision, anything else from them? Diablo 2 Resurrection is the fastest selling Blizzard remaster ever. I mean, it's a good one. So not a surprise
it is good,
there.
but also like, what is it competing against? Like
Warcraft.
There's Warcraft Reforged, which was a fucking disaster.
Yes.
Then there's like the StarCraft thing, which was kind of low key, really.
Mm-hmm.
So and World of Warcraft Classic probably doesn't even count for this. So sure.
Last little bit of numbers. Dying Light 2, which just launched, has had a massive launch on Steam. 230,000 players on Steam concurrently. That's really high. I remember like writing some numbers about like a Monster Hunter came out, or Resident Evil, and they hit like 80,000 or 100,000, and that was like, the best launch of the year so far. So 230,000 concurrent players is massive. I think that number could even get beaten by Elden Ring here coming up really soon.
I think it could, Jeff. I think Elden Ring is going to maybe do some record breaking.
Yeah. And I think I asked this question. Maybe we could put it in the chat. I put this on Twitter. What do you think is going to be the best selling game of February? Is it going to be Dying Light 2? Is it going to be Elden Ring? What's the other big
Arceus.
game? Is it going to be the second month of Pokemon Legends Arceus? And again, physical only, because this MPD we're talking about, or Horizon Forbidden West. And I'm still going with Pokemon Legends Arceus, but I mean, honestly, if Horizon comes out and is like a 93 on Metacritic, then all bets are off. Dying Light 2 seems to be
still only on PlayStation. I think it could be Elden Ring.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Elden Ring.
PlayStation.
Elden Ring is multi-platform, and it seems like it's going to do very well on PC, so it could be any of them.
I mean, it could definitely be Arceus in its second month.
I'm still sticking to Arceus, though. Yes, I mean, we just talked about how the last ones, the Gen 4 remakes, sold 13 million copies in a matter of months. This game's already at 6 million in a matter of days, and it's probably going to be like 10 million by the end of this month, it feels like. So just the rate it's selling. Again, but that's just
a big month.
So yeah, it's going to be a massive month for MPD numbers. Yes. Let's see. Okay, that does it for the news. Mike, spell me here. Give me some super chats.
We got a bunch of these. Let me get back to the oldest one. Okay, we're good. Ariel Delgado says, is there any piece of media you watch as kids that you didn't think was real for years? For me, it's The Running Man starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Man, that's pretty funny.
What does he mean he didn't think it was real?
Like you thought you imagined it, or you thought it was a dream. I have things like that. I'm having a hard time coming up with specific examples now.
For me, like, The Running Man is like such like a staple of my life. Like, I watched it as a kid for sure, and it was like, it's kind of violent, but I watch it now and I'm like, man, I think this movie's perfect. I think The Running Man might be a perfect movie. So it's like, for me, it's like, of course it's always been there, and it better never have been in my imagination, because I want to watch it all the time.
I think for me, Demolition Man might have been that because I just remembered the Taco Bell stuff, and I was a kid, and I hadn't seen that movie for a very long time. I was like, oh, that's that movie. Okay.
I feel like I was too obsessed with all the stuff that I was into for this to have happened to me. Maybe there's some examples, like some HBO thing that I probably saw once, maybe, but I don't have any of the the Berenstain Bears thing where I'm like, I never thought much about those books one way or the other, and the Sinbad genie movie that everyone swears exists. Like I don't know if that was real or not either. So, yeah, go ahead.
Bowser says several Unreal Engine 5 games have been delayed. Is this because Unreal Engine 5 still doesn't have a production build? Are more delays coming due to this?
I would say probably. I think that Fortnite has been ported to Unreal 5. I think they've announced plans to do that with maybe Rocket League and maybe some of the other stuff. But these are in-house Epic games. These things have just happened, and these are ports of existing projects. So, there's different variables there than when it comes to like an outside studio working with this stuff. But I would say the Unreal Engine 5 situation probably does contribute to these delays.
Ricky Thompson says, hi, Beefy Boys. Do you think that the primary decision-making at Nintendo could ever shift outside of Japan like what happened with PlayStation? That's a good question.
Repeat the question. I wasn't listening. Someone told me to put the sanitizer in my hands, and I'm like, okay, I will if I could find it. I know I blew my nose.
Very nice. Hi, Beefy Boys. Do you think that the primary decision-making at Nintendo could ever shift outside of Japan like what happened with PlayStation?
No. Never. No.
Never?
Never. I don't think ever. I think that Japan as a country is too proud of Nintendo to ever let anything like that happen. And
right. I remember when at the end of the One Olympics, and it was like going to be Japan the next year, like their prime minister or whatever came out dressed as Mario to
yes.
like that's how like they debuted Japan for the Olympics. Right. It's yeah, you're right. It's now like
it's a point of national pride, yeah.
Things are as American as apple pie. Things are now as Japanese as Nintendo, right?
Yes, yeah. I think that it was like one of their most profitable companies in their history. They just love Nintendo too much.
Stephen Hart says Phil Spencer seems like a cool dude. Not referring to anything specific. I just like the dude. I mean, yes. Yeah, like he said the same before. I kind of think on one of my tangent about our icons and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, he seems fine, but again, it's like I don't know him. I don't know him.
The way he speaks seems very nice, and I appreciate that for what it is. And I'm not gonna we're gonna try to avoid putting people on pedestals.
I like him as the head of a gaming company.
Yes.
And my relationship with him does not extend outside of that.
I think he's good at that job where he's basically trying to get me to buy stuff, and I'm like, okay, I will buy some of this stuff.
Christopher Minotti says, Jeff, just buy the old Arby's and move in there. Yeah, Portman, Ohio. Jeff, you can join our crusade to save that building, or at least get a historical marker put on there.
That is important, and that could be something that would win Stephanie over. So I'll shoot it by her. She'll be very moved.
Yes. Supernova says, what were you hinting at, Jeff, about It Takes Two to Tango? Does Jeff Keighley know? Is Kelly calling at the end of the night to find out what with Kojima about your hints? To be clear, when Jeff says It Takes Two to Tango, he was not hinting at anything, and I knew people would think that he was, so that's why I said, to be clear, Jeff's not hinting at anything.
Right. It's literally just a phrase that people use when they say it requires both parties to be interested in something, and what we were hearing is one party might be considering every possibility, and who's on the other end of that, no idea, and it's not worth talking about yet because we don't.
It's not worth talking about. It's not worth getting excited about.
Yeah, it's not worth getting excited about because there's just it's like there are rumblings, and it's the rumblings continue to be. These companies are freaking out, and I think we do with that what you will, but don't expect that to turn into like a tangible one piece of news item like this thing happened based on what Jeff Grubb heard once in terms of rumblings. No, it's not going to work that way. It's just going to be kind of messy, and that's why we don't know, and that's why we're not saying it.
Josh Tarpley says, will Call of Duty 2022 be on Game Pass day one?
2022, probably not. No,
probably not.
No,
I don't think so. Not before the acquisition.
No, I mean. No, none of the ones that have a PlayStation co-marketing deal will be on Game Pass day one,
right?
Because they have to. Because part of that deal is going to be there in the fine print. You cannot put this on other subscription services. It's going to say that in the deal.
BitCloud Gaming says, "What up? Not much. What up with you?
Not much. Thanks for asking."
Garuda Intruda says, Mike, you reminded me of Guardian Heroes for Sega Saturn. Absolute banger. I used to rent the system and play the game co-op. Remake, please. Yeah, that's what I meant earlier when I said Guardian Forces, actually. I think Guardian Forces is like the RPG with like the
Right.
hundreds.
I get a
like,
lot of those
sprites.
conflated, like because a lot of them have similar names. There's another one that
Yeah.
I conflate them as
Was
well.
it Dragon Force? I forget. There's a
Yeah.
lot of games like that I can't keep track of. But Guardian Heroes is the
Yes.
beat 'em up by Treasure for Sega Saturn. That's really cool.
Probably one of the best ones. Yeah.
Queso Jalal says, Mike, when Cyberpunk 2077 next gen update comes out, play it. Don't listen to Jeff. Oh, I'm playing it, and I never listen to Jeff. Lenches Return says, obvious Sony made this deal from position of weakness. Bungie had all the leverage. Microsoft has turned Sony into a third-party publisher by force.
I mean, I think that is an aggressive reading of a situation where Sony sees a pathway to make more money by doing what it's doing. I mean, it's just Sony's been doing like going to PC for a while. I mean, Microsoft did that a long time ago. So it's like doing it after Microsoft. I don't know. I just wouldn't read it that way.
Lenches Return says, he continues actually. How will this work? Other Sony studios who have produced for years have a worse deal. If Santa Monica says we want independent publishing too, then what?
Get back in your hole. I mean, that's like, what do you mean then? They just say no. Like, listen, the deal they have with Bungie is going to be contingent on a lot of factors. I think they even said as much in their earnings call where they're like, yeah, we're looking at a lot of like key marketing or key metrics of like how they're going to perform. And what they didn't say is if they don't meet those key metrics, then maybe we don't have to pay them some of this money we promised them. And also maybe we get more control. They didn't say that part, but things are going to go from independent and they're going to move closer to being under Sony if things don't go great for Bungie. And things are not going to move the other way for the other studios. It's just going to be like Sony is going to be calling the shots, and they're going to let you have your independence unless you start causing a lot of problems and not making money for them, in which case there will be contingencies in place for them to say, okay, now we need to be in charge. And all that stuff's in paper and writing, and they're going to make sure that's the case.
I like these two back to back here, Jeff. K Mega 405 says Gran Turismo 7 looks solid, and then RDX Son of a Fett says this year's Motorsport will crush Gran Turismo. I tell you what, I'm not looking to like the obvious fanboying that's going to happen because the two are both releasing card games this year.
Yes, me neither.
It would otherwise be fun to compare the two,
right,
in a reasonable way, but people are going to get so bizarrely heated and weird about it.
Right, people are going to be like, talk about how important it is to have your own paint jobs and Forza. And listen, I think it is super important that you have Goku on the side of your Ford F-150. Yeah, absolutely, that's important. But I also think, the realism of GT7 is important. But also, like, if that's what you really care about, and that's what people who are fans of Gran Turismo always say, it's like that's the one that real racing sim fans play. I'm like, no, they're playing iRacing on their computer with 1 million mods, and they're like rigged up together like steering wheel system. They're not playing Gran Turismo. So it's going to be a bunch of weird fanboys making points that don't actually matter to anybody.
M21J says, have you seen the Ayn Odin? It looks awesome. What's Ayn Odin? AYN Odin? I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
I guess I haven't seen it.
No, I have. Oh, yes, that new handheld. I talked about this on Grubb Snacks.
Oh, the Odin. Yes, it looked neat, but you were saying like, why get this if you have a Steam Deck coming? Which
yes, I would not get this if you have a Steam Deck. And it's unless like the size of the Steam Deck really is a problem for you, which I don't expect it to be a problem for me. But the Odin looks it's an Android handheld. It looks very good. I did consider getting it. The price is probably right, even though it's kind of expensive for one of these handhelds. It's got a bigger screen than a lot of the other stuff. Like it's got a much bigger screen than this. It looks good. It can play Dreamcast and GameCube and all this stuff. It seems powerful. It's got a really modern processor and chipset in there. But Steam Deck is significantly more powerful than this. It can play like full PC games and is just kind of in a league of its own, and actually not that much more expensive if you're talking about the cheapest models. So yeah.
Deadly Virus Evo says, you animals made me try Arby's for the first time this week. Not so fast food with greasy beef and dripping cheese. Long story short, no regrets. Well, you're welcome.
Yep. Congratulations.
Welcome to the light. Stephen Hart says, Phil Spencer should have gotten the Grand Theft Auto 6 logo tattooed onto his chest and announced it that way, onto his chest.
Yeah, there you go. Rip open the shirt. Yeah.
Deadly Virus Evo says Grand Theft Auto 6 will be set in Florida, inspired by Florida man stories. That's pretty funny. It probably would be actually. Like I think it's almost not even unplausible. Unplausible, implausible.
Impossible.
That's me fail English. That's impossible. Grant Taylor says Nintendo has flirted with VR in the past, and it seems right up their valley. Lower development costs, lower fidelity, high creativity. What's the chance they go in on a VR set? And if not, why? I mean, their flirtation with VR was pretty mild. It was literally with Labo, right?
Yeah, with literal cardboard, which I guess was Google's flirtation as well.
Yeah, I don't see them really going into that space, especially when like you think Nintendo wants to compete with Facebook or Meta or whatever.
No.
Or even, like Sony also kind of has a grip on that among the big three, even. And also there is still the specter of Virtual Boy at Nintendo, I imagine.
That's very true, yeah.
Hughes says, is Ember Labs one of the unannounced PlayStation acquisitions?
I mean, I don't know if it's an acquisition, but I mean, it seems like it would make a lot of sense for them. I haven't heard about that. And I'm not sure if like my lines of like sources would actually be able to get info on that, but I'll keep my ears open. That wouldn't be too surprising.
Naughty Pie says, thanks for everything you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Benji Nzao says, I think the Switch is likely to reach the PlayStation 2 and DS numbers. This is the fastest console to reach 100 million. Switch will likely pass DS and PlayStation 2 in 2025. It could.
Yeah, you gotta keep like even if another Switch comes out, they'll probably keep selling the Switch model, so they don't count it together. So it's like Switch 2 is a separate thing. This will keep probably selling to like families and stuff for a little bit. It has a chance. It has a chance to catch both.
That would mean that it's only sold 2/3 of its total lifetime consoles.
Yeah, but it means like
now.
If they can get production back up, it also means so 15 million per year for the next 3 years, and then like a couple more million after that, like on average. And it seems like they're expecting to sell like 20 million this year. So yeah, I think it's still possible.
Rafik 145 says, is it really difficult for Bungie to buy a big Japanese studio while Sony is buying Bungie? I mean, so yes, I understand like now it seems like, well, why at this point it's like, why isn't it just happening like that? It is still harder than going to a grocery store and saying, I will have one Konami, please.
Right. And it's like, if you were to extract, like, because you wouldn't buy all of Konami, you would just buy Konami Digital Entertainment. I can't remember the name of the gaming division. And extracting something like that out of a public company isn't exactly easy. Like, you would have to like do a lot of due diligence. If you're, buying Capcom, it's a pretty big, expensive company. You have to convince them that they want to be bought, and that's probably pretty difficult. Sega also has like similar things with Konami, because there's Sega Sammy, and Sega Sammy are in a lot of different businesses. So and they're like in the middle of like trying to make themselves leaner for sure. And maybe that is with the eye of being acquired at some point. Like they've divested themselves of the in-person entertainment arcade business, but still it's going to be a challenge. And then there is the like, I think Sega's one that's like not protected by Japan's national security interest laws. Like Nintendo is like a tier 1, I guess is how it works, where you'd have to get full approval from the government to acquire Nintendo. Yeah, God tier, right?
And not even shit tier.
Yeah, Sega's like shit tier, like 3rd tier, where there's no protection at all. You can just come in and buy Sega whenever you want, which is pretty messed up. But I think it's actually what it is. So
yeah. But still, to answer your question, like, no, would it be that difficult? Maybe. Like, there's some difficulties there. Like, look, it's still obviously something that could happen. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing. Jay says, what happens with the 100 million investment NetEase made with Bungie since the acquisition?
They just got bought out. That's what is my guess here. Is part of that money just goes to Nexon and says, here's your money plus some interest, and now we own your controlling stake in whatever that thing was going to be. So yeah.
Jeremy G says, shout out to the Discord Halo Nights with the boys, or in the bros. Yes, we'll be doing another Halo Night on Monday. I think Big Team Battle's fixed. At least they made another patch.
We played last night. We played some Big Team Battle last night. We had a community game night. Wow. I was able to get in there real quick.
Oh, my invitation must have got lost in the mail.
You were doing raid night, is what everyone said.
That's
so I think we
right.
didn't even bother
I was
you.
doing raid night.
We didn't even bother you. Everyone's like, just let him be him. Let
it
Mikey
was
be
raid
Mikey.
night.
I went in there and I was like, hey, like I can play like a couple matches, but I need some help getting ready for the stream tomorrow. Anyone have any ideas like what I can call it? And someone immediately was like, let's go Eevee. I can't remember whose idea it was. There was 15 people in there, but I'm like, oh, perfect. Yeah, of course. Let's just name it that. So yeah, they're like very, very cool people to hang out with and play games with. And we do a lot of game nights now. So definitely get in the Discord and hang out with us.
Ethan Burchell says, will there be a Dragon Age Legendary Edition? Jeff, we talked about this a little bit in the past. Have you heard anything else about them maybe doing a similar Dragon Age compilation like they did for Mass Effect?
Yeah, so I definitely have written this in a story somewhere. So if you want to go like find like my full reasoning and and like reporting on this, that's out there somewhere. I can't remember the name of the article, but basically it's significantly different than doing it with Mass Effect, because Mass Effect is one continuous story for the first 3 games. Dragon Age, each game is sort of independent from the others. That's one reason why it's a little bit sort of weird to do a trilogy. Also, each game is like not built on the same exact technology, where it's like, oh, this is just one Unreal game, another Unreal game, and another Unreal game. And maybe it's different levels of Unreal, but basically it's all Unreal.
And Inquisition just straight up Frostbite even?
Inquisition was straight up Frostbite, so it would require a lot more independent work for each of these games. And like, you don't necessarily need to play the Dragon Age trilogy to appreciate 4, because again, it's going to be independent. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why they don't think they're going to go and do a trilogy, a legendary edition of Dragon Age. It's not completely off the table, but it wasn't in the works last time I checked.
Jared Heller asks, how many indie studios could you buy for a $70 bill? Well, Jared, you can own Mike Minotti Game Studios for that. I'll send you my Venmo information. We can make that happen today.
VJ Incoming came in with Let's Go Eevee. So that's fantastic. Shout out to VJ for that. Thank you.
Anthony says, last week's Gran Turismo 7 Find Your Lane vid has JOI vibes. Well, I have no comment to make about that. So, except I think it's a you problem with everybody. I don't think it's a Gran Turismo problem.
Listen, I think maybe you just don't understand it. Maybe right,
I can hear your kid in the background. Don't say anything gross that you're going to regret.
I like Jeff Gerstmann tweeting in that video of the TLC channel's thing about like weird obsessions of the guy who was in love with his car and was like underneath it and smooch it and stuff. Because that's what I always think of when I have this like vibe of these people really like cars.
Forrest Heron says, how does Sony's acquisition of Bungie compare relative to Sony's $450 million investment in Epic? What do the two investments represent? I mean, those are both kind of about live services, right?
I mean, I think the one in Epic is definitely like, yeah, making sure they have a good line on a technology provider and live services, but also, I mean, they make Unreal and stuff like that. And I think also it's about making money, because they probably think Epic's going to be worth more in the future than what they're worth now. So $450 million is going to probably turn into, $1 billion, $1.5 billion, and then so on and so forth. The one with Bungie is very much about, they can produce revenue for us and can also provide expertise in live services. Like, yeah, those are the big differences.
Jeff, that is it for the super chats for now. If you guys want to send more in, we will read them before the end of the show. But let's get to some of those Discord questions.
Real quick from chat, Andy says, are you going to tell me that Jay Leno doesn't fuck cars?
Jay Leno fucks a lot of things.
Yeah, all right. Wonderful. From King is Overrated. And these are these are the chats from our community in the Discord who are in the podcast producers channel. This one's from King is Overrated. Hello, beefy boys. Happy Friday. My question this week is about themes in video games. My favorite video game is Dark Souls, one, because of the combat and customization, but also the theme of the game. No matter how hard a challenge in that game, you can overcome it, and it is deep within the lore of Dark Souls about not giving up your humanity and becoming hollow / giving up. What video games have deep themes that made you sit back and think about things? As always, have a great weekend.
Gosh, usually I don't think too much about this stuff. I always remember like
Same.
the one college class I had where we were watching a video director, like a screenwriters, and the screenwriter was kind of like, yeah, everyone always asks me what the theme of my story is. So I just always say, no man is an island, and it works every time. So that's what I always kind of laugh about that. I guess, Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of the rare ones where after I beat that, I did like have this weird moment sitting in my like bedroom at like 3 a.m. because of course I always beat games in the middle of the night and be like, what the hell? I had to think for a little bit. And of course, like that stuff has aged really well with that game now too, like with the whole, memes and digital information and just junk info and junk data and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of like a theme really mattering, usually it's more about characters and stuff like that. Because a lot of the games I like, the themes aren't very deep, right? It's usually like, wow, friends are good, So, yeah, sure. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm definitely in a situation where a lot of times I'm playing games and I'm not, I don't come to games for the theme in the way that King is Overrated describes. Like, I'm coming to them for my, like, I use stories for themes because it's like, when you're talking about the way people interact with one another, there's a lot of opportunity for that. In video games, for me, a lot of times it's about my relationship with like the physical world, and I've talked about this before, like my interactions with physics and being able to play around with that like a toy and experience different ways of interacting with physical systems and stuff like that. But I think a couple examples recently, I think that Guardians of the Galaxy game had some pretty good theming going on, not just with its characterization, but like it's talk about the like the poisonous attraction of some religions, and how it'd be so nice to just give into this idea that these people that are gone are still there if you just kind of give yourself over to this organized religion that's actually kind of bad for everyone else. And the appeal of that is really enticing, and it can win over the strongest people. But there are reasons to resist that and to think critically and to embrace your pain and live with your pain and try to move on from it. It was really well done. I think if you really want to hear someone defend this game and really put a voice to like what this game does, especially also with like friend groups and people who like come together and fight against these enticing forces that are trying to poison you, listen to Jan on the the Giant Bomb Game of the Year podcast. He did a really good job of defending it, and that was really well said. And then
Guardians of the Galaxy is anti-Catholic. Got it.
Yes, it thinks the Catholic religion's can destroy everything, Mike, and it's the big bad of the universe.
We tried.
Yeah, now you guys are just like,
we're just coasting.
You're coasting, yes, exactly. And then Eco is a good game where it's has dueling themes, because it's a game where it's a Minecraft with more systems is the shorthand, but it's also about like your effect that you have on the planet as this big asteroids come in to destroy everything, and you're trying to do things, and as you do things they have consequences, and that's like a very obvious theme. But then there's other themes of like, the game's called Eco, and it's about ecology, but it's also about economy and the way that people's systems work, like sort of come up to deal with these situations, and the ways that we build systems around them, around the natural systems. And this game does a great job of representing all of that, and it's very moving to me, because I was part of making these systems, and the game didn't provide them, but I needed them to build up to actually find a way to get all these people in my server to work together. So we created our own economic systems and stuff like that, and it was very powerful stuff.
Jason McLovin brought up Celeste in the chat. He said it helped him with his anxiety.
Thank you.
Yes. I got over my anxiety before the game came out, but like it's still like the themes hit me pretty well. It seems like a pretty good representation of how anxiety actually works, especially compared to a lot of things. So that's a good one. All right, Jeff, next.
From Wiener of the Nintendogs.
Very nice.
If you were keeping mental checklist of the Final Fantasy games that you've played in your gaming career, let's say seeing the story from beginning to end is what we care about here, would completing Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins check off the Final Fantasy 1 requirement?
No. You could play the original, you could play the Game Boy Advance remake, the PlayStation Portable, is it PSP? Yeah, PSP remake, even the Pixel Remaster. There's a lot of versions of Final Fantasy 1 that I will count. I am not going to count Final Fantasy Origin. That is in the spin-off territory. That's like beating World of Final Fantasy or something like that.
I mean, I'm just surprised. You have a definitive answer to this. Like
oh yeah,
there's you know in your heart what is true here, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's some that are weird. Like Final Fantasy 4 had like a straight up remake, and if you played that that DS version, that counts, sure. But no, Final Fantasy Origin is like, it's beyond remake. It's something weirder, and this is beyond my whole distaste for it. This is just facts.
Dear Bouillon Boys, this one comes from Casual.
Nice.
What's the soundtrack you find yourself coming back to without having actually played the game? For me, it's Mystical Ninja starring Goemon for the N64.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I Gosh, because usually
I can't remember it.
Usually it's so much I'd start listening to this. Like the first time I hear music, I'm often not that interested in it. Like I have to hear a song a few times before I really get into it, and usually that happens because I play the game, and then I really get interested in it.
I'm definitely the same way, where that association really puts me over the top with a lot of music.
Right. Like there are specific tracks sometimes from games that I'm not like super into. Like there's some Earthbound tracks that I do like a lot, even though I've never really played through Earthbound or never even heard some of those songs in the actual game before. So we could say Earthbound maybe.
From Epic Open World, buy one, rent one goes away forever. JRPGs, Metroidvanias, platformers.
This is definitely just targeted me. He just literally went and found my 3 favorite genres, didn't he?
Yep.
Wow. Ugh. I don't like this. Gosh, Jeff is gonna be easy because he's gonna throw away JRPGs like it's nothing.
So our JRPGs go away forever. That is very easy. This is tough. I'm gonna have to rent platformers, and then I buy Metroidvanias. I think that's how it goes, because I think that like renting platformers is the kind of thing where I go like, yeah, I'll rent it, I'll play through it really quick, and then I'll be done with it. And Metroidvanias I could take my time with and enjoy, not worry about like the pressure of having to return it or something like that. Like even though I don't get all the way to the end of a platformer, I'm like, it's just gonna be more platforming for the most part, so that's okay. Yeah, that's my answer.
I literally don't know if I can do this one, Jeff. This is like I was trying, and
we're not going to remove
every single thing upsets me, but I can't cop out. I can't be a cop. God. All right.
We need an answer, Mike Minotti.
God. All right. Let's buy Metroidvanias.
Okay.
Because there are so many Metroidvanias that are like among my favorite games ever. The Ori, Super Metroids, the Castlevanias. We'll rent JRPGs.
Wow.
And this is awful. Well, here's the problem with platformers is that there's a lot of really bad platformers. I mean, there's a lot of bad Metroidvanias and RPGs too, but like with platformers, a lot of times it's like I really like the Mario stuff and some of this Sonic stuff, but like, I don't know. If you count Mega Man as a platformer, I kind of don't. It's confusing.
I count it as a run and gun
platformer,
it's
but kind of a run.
That's separate from platformer proper.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll go with that, I guess. But I'm not happy about it. I could switch this on any.
No more
moment.
Astro Boy speed runs.
Shut up! Okay. No, shut up! I hate this. This is awful. How dare you pick 3 of Jeff's favorite genres, which I don't know what those would even be. Truck games, economy games, and Link's Awakening.
Yeah, fuck, that's hard. From Beefhammer, happy Friday, Jeff announcing Nintendo NFT's Grubb, and Mike already walking back on Nintendo NFT's Minotti. Very good. Now that the longest January in gaming is finally over, are you all ready for the onslaught of new releases? What February release are you personally looking forward to the most? Keep up the good work, you too.
Because February
we got a lot of them already, and it's been a lot. Like it's been a lot on my plate. Is kind of how I feel. The one I'm like wanting to play the most is Pokemon right now. It just seems like the kind of game where I can mostly shut off my brain and just enjoy the dopamine, and I could really go for that right now. Dying Light 2's been good. I played a little bit of Horizon, can't talk about that really. But like, yeah, playing that, and then the Elden Ring's the one we haven't touched yet. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I also have Horizon, so it's like hard to be excited. But I'm pretty excited for Elden Ring, even as a guy who's not a big Souls guy.
Yeah,
I'm kind of excited to like get in on this now and see what it's about. Oh God, Radu just brought up Grim Fandango for video game themes, and I should have thought about that earlier because Grim Fandango is one of my favorite games ever. That's a good one. But yeah, maybe Elden Ring. I'm kind of on board with the hype of that. I don't know if it's because like you became so associated with Elden Ring in some accident, and now I have some attachment to it.
Yes,
but I'm excited to see where this goes now.
From Blackheart Vinyl, I may be crazy here. The deal of letting Bungie be multi-platform and self-publishing seems very un-Sony. Did Bungie use Microsoft and maybe NetEase and Tencent, who knows else, to force Sony to do something they didn't want to do? Is Sony happy about this deal, or did they get backed into it against their will? I think that this is like the terms that like Bungie just said, if you're going to acquire us, you have to meet these terms. And I think Sony sort of probably talked themselves into it a little bit, but I don't think they're like super unhappy with these terms. It might feel on Sony, but I think that's just because we're in a weird transition phase, and this is going to be the future of everyone, where a lot of these service games need to be everywhere, and so they're like just ripping off the Band-Aid, and they're going for it.
Agreed.
From Pappy Wappy.
Pappy Wappy.
What are some of the dumbest, most minor things that'll instantly pull you out of a game?
Oh. Clipping drives me crazy.
Oh, yes. And then the cousin of clipping, invisible walls, is like, I have a pretty high tolerance for this stuff. Anytime I hit an invisible wall, I'm like, oh, fuck you, game. Like, you couldn't even take the time to, like, just hide this with something. Yeah, I hate invisible walls.
Even invisible walls don't get me as much as the clipping. It's just...
clipping doesn't get me as much as invisible walls. I don't mind clipping so much.
And clipping does. Even if Final Fantasy 14, there's just so many outfits, and they, things are constantly going through hats and like going through robes.
Clipping is kind of like annoying, yeah.
And look, God, how can I put this? Let's say there's a video game where a character has very long hair braids, and you're constantly looking at them, and they seem almost proud of their hair braid physics technology. But so it's like it's drawing attention to it, But yeah, a lot of times you're just seeing that hair clipping through things, clipping through shoulders, clipping through clothes. Clipping drives me absolutely crazy, and it always has. And it annoys me that it's a problem that's not going to be fixed anytime soon because it would require so much processing power, I guess, right? To add that kind of not like matter to everything. The I don't even know what you would call it, but like the physical boundaries to every single bit of item, so clipping doesn't happen as much. But God, I hate clipping. It drives me crazy.
I feel like ours are even like more like not even as minor as what Pappy Wappy describes. Like he went on to like say, for me in games like Uncharted and Last of Us, I just can't stop focusing on how large the doors are and end up falling off a couple hours in.
That's
like,
pretty
okay.
minor.
Yeah, it's very.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I can think of something that minor that drives me. I guess clipping seems like a big deal. Yeah, collision was the word I was looking for. Thank you guys. Collision. Yeah.
From Engine 25 on all the things. You've probably said before but how you know these things. P.S. Tell Mike I discovered the 90s Disney show and it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of being in the right place, right time, kind of just knowing the right people who are in the right situation to get me information, and being very respectful of keeping sources safe when they do share information. People are willing to share, and also not just sharing everything I hear and only do it when I'm sure. Kind of gives it a little bit of an air of like authenticity when I do share something. It's like, oh, he must know because he's actually saying it out loud. So yeah, that's.
If you know what bothers me in some games sometimes.
Please tell me.
For some reason, only when like anime style games get voice acting, there's a whole genre of voice acting that's anime voice acting. I don't know why it has to be any different from normal voice acting, but it is, and it has like its own like mannerisms and its own rules. And there's always so much grunting. There's so much non-verbal
like
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, and it drives me crazy. There's always people like saying like, well, did you think about this? And the character goes, huh.
Yeah.
And there's always like those huhs. Drive me absolutely bonkers.
I don't like them either. Yeah.
And I can't, it's like, just don't do that. Just have the character turn his head.
Yeah.
Like that's subtle enough.
Yeah.
Nobody grunts like that. That's not a thing people do. What is that?
If I knew someone who did that, I just would not be friends with them.
I'd punch him in the goddamn face.
From Lausham. Hey guys, hope your week/January was a good one. Jeff, you seem informed about current economics. How do you keep informed? Radio shows, newspapers, or podcasts? Since it was reported that Sony... Oh, I'll answer this first one, and there might be another question here. Yeah, I listen to Marketplace on NPR most days. What I do is, when I'm doing the dishes at night or something like that, I say, okay, Google, play the news. And it plays the first 10 minutes, like it's just like, the update on the most recent news. And then it goes into the latest Marketplace episode. And I try to listen to that, and that's a good way of keeping up. I also like Planet Money podcast is a very good one I listen to. They are very good about teaching you about the subjects. And then I will occasionally in the morning put on CNBC or something, but that is not a good way to learn stuff. That's a fucking clown show. I was watching that this morning, Mike. It was like the most awkward bickering between like the two hosts. Like two of the three hosts, and then they went to this thing, and I tweeted this. They're like, all right, now we're entering the metaverse.
I saw that. Oh my god!
And it was like this big. It was like this big like showcase. Like this thing they photoshopped of like the character or the host as metaverse characters, and then they just had the images. They weren't even moving. It was just still images, and I'm just like, this is cheesy. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
No. Nothing's going to kill the metaverse faster than these old people. It's like when your mom gets into something, right?
Yes.
It's what people like, this is the metaverse, and it's just ugly looking cartoon characters, and it's these old white men sitting at like a news desk. Like, what the hell? Like, who is this helping? What the hell is the point? It's like, it has that same energy as that one presidential election where CNN was doing holograms for no reason, right?
Right, yes. It's like your mom saying, I heard from your auntie that the slap bracelets are back. Should I get you some slap bracelets? Mom,
it's like that Chip Pokemon episode of South Park where the way they stopped it was by the parents pretending to like Chip Pokemon.
Exactly, which is the right move. From Laushin as well, since it was reported that Sony has $10 billion left for acquisitions in 2023, wouldn't it be possible for them to use that money to help solve its hardware shortage? I mean, no. The hardware shortage is not a matter of spending cash. It is a matter of capacity and physics. It's a physics issue. Like, there's only so much capacity, and there's only so much time to build new capacity, and that time is the time investment required is years. It's a matter of years. So all the money in the world would not enable them to solve that issue. From Newfie Legit, happy Friday, guys. Just started playing through the Mass Effect Legendary Edition on Xbox Series X, and so far I think it's a solid remaster. Controls feel decent and the graphics aren't bad either. It got me thinking on what other legacy games could be remastered. I'd like to see Gears of War series, the Fable series, and perhaps even some older games like Battletoads. What games would you guys like to see remastered or remade?
That's pretty interesting. It's like some of them don't need like Mirror's Edge, right? When they just did that frame rate boost for Xbox, that's all that game needed, and it's good to go. I would probably like to see the original Red Dead Redemption get a really good remaster here. I liked that game a lot. I would like an excuse to maybe play it again. So that's one that comes up. Gosh, there must be other things, Jeff. But
the one that I want is the one that's going to happen probably this year, and it's Metroid Prime.
Right? Yeah, sure. Metroid Prime.
It doesn't need a lot, but just like a way for a bunch of people to play that game again, so we can all talk about how great it is again. That alone would be great for me because I just kind of always want to be talking about Metroid Prime. And then yeah, they did it with like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on Wii U. Just put that on the Switch so we can play that. That's also probably going to happen this year. So,
Jason said Soul Reaver. I never even played those games that much, but I think that'd be pretty interesting to bring those back and remaster those or remake those. That'd be pretty cool.
From Oregon, hey guys, do you think that whoever owns From Software is looking to sell? With Elden Ring about the release, I personally feel like From Software might be peaking at value in such a crazy market. What's the name of the From Software parent company?
From Software.
It's like
big things for
Kaido something. From Software parent company. Kadokawa Corporation is the company that is the parent company of From Software. I don't know. I think that everyone's willing to sell for the right price, so maybe
Kadokawa would probably consider. I'll tell you what. They're probably about to be worth as much as they maybe will be in the next 10 years.
Once Elden Ring comes out, yes, and it has like a big launch day. In the couple months after that, I would be on the lookout for a major acquisition if Kadokawa is willing to sell, because what Mike just said, like they'll probably be able to get, I don't know, $5 billion or something, like some crazy number, like more than Bungie or something like that. I don't know.
I was just thinking, if I were going back to remasters, like, do I want a remaster of Ridge Racer 4, or is that just kind of perfect ways? The only thing I would like is a frame rate boost, and maybe that's more of a modding thing than what I would actually get from like a remaster would change the graphics in a way I don't like, whereas the low poly feel of Ridge Racer Type 4 is a big part of it. Fantasy Zero GX would also be a good one. Just
honestly, I just want to play those games at 120 frames per second, like F-Zero and Ridge Racer. That'd be fantastic. Let's see, Dr. Suss. 2022 has been a crazy year for the video game business. Holy crap! Is it really still just February? If anything is possible. Barely. We're barely into it. If anything is possible, what is the craziest story to complete the trifecta of mergers and acquisitions? I think it's EA and Take-Two merging.
Yeah, that'd be pretty nuts.
Yeah.
EA, Take-Two merging and announcing they're making a console.
Right. There you go.
Imagine that.
God. The 3DO is back.
3DO is back. Oh my! I'd like that. EA was so on board the 3DO, man. Need for Speed.
Well, 3DO was started by the same guy who started 3DO, right? So, or started EA. Trip
Need
Hawkins.
For Speed. Gosh, it had the best version of Road Rash. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was going to be the EA console, absolutely. Yeah. Screaming Madden. A new take on Buy One Rent One, Banish One, but it's Revive One game series, HD Remaster One, and Leave One series alone, and it's themed after inactive Bandai Namco IPs. Your choices are Ridge Racer, Klonoa, and Splatterhouse.
I was literally hoping you would say Ridge Racer and Klonoa. So I would bring back Ridge Racer.
That's a good there you go. Yeah,
do a remaster Klonoa. And I like Splatterhouse fine, but we can get rid of Splatterhouse. They already did that weird new Splatterhouse. Like the 360 era, right?
It was on Wii, wasn't it? Also,
so yeah.
That game's pretty good though. That game's actually fun.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna go with that. Splatterhouse is fine, but I like Ridge Racer a lot, and I think Klonoa is very good. So
I think you're probably right. I would at this point a new Ridge Racer that just sort of embraces being Ridge Racer instead of trying to be like all these other racing games. That would be great.
Right. Well, Ridge Racer is very good at it almost has like the presentation of a racing sim, but then the gameplay more of an arcade racing game, which is what's so much fun about it. And there is like a vibe there. The soundtrack is so important. They need to they have to totally just tap into that Type 4 energy, and I'd be really happy. Man, I want to play Ridge Racer 7. I was obsessed with 7 games because of Final Fantasy VII's 25th anniversary, and I was just like going through them all.
because you're gaming's George Costanza, so it makes a lot of sense. He loves 7. That's his favorite number. Yeah. He's gonna name his daughter 7.
It's like you can have arguments like, what's the best 8 game ever, right? But it's like 7. I feel like that's pretty. Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 probably has a monopoly in that. Ridge Racer 7 is so interesting though, because it's like one of like 3 PlayStation 3 games that you just can't really play easily anywhere else. Like along with Metal Gear Solid 4. Even though it was mostly just kind of an enhanced port of Ridge Racer 6, but it's better than Ridge Racer 6. But I have Ridge Racer 6 on the Xbox, and they did give that an FPS boost. So I don't know. I was just thinking too much about Ridge Racer 7 recently.
We should another shirt we should do is Mike is getting upset like George Costanza, and
Mike is getting upset.
Yeah, I think that's
summer of Mike.
From BG, do you actually believe that large-scale publishers and devs are backing off NFT initiatives, or is the backing off more about saving face at this point? Can't help but feel EA's change of heart is more a veil than a direction. Hope you and the family are well. We are. Thanks for saying so.
I think it's both. I mean, even when they were talking about NFTs a lot, like the last turn of investor stuff, some of that was just talk, and it was just aimed at investors and making them happy. Like, especially for an EA, how much was EA really into NFTs, or how much was Andrew Wilson like just hearing it at the from his other exec friends and whatnot?
Even Dean, who's like covering the space, is like somewhat of a believer, and he's like, it's not going to come from those companies. They're going to be too slow to move. And they're gonna have to look around and be like, oh, and now all of a sudden all these other companies that came out of nowhere are gonna dominate this NFT space. So he doesn't think like EA is gonna do it. Like, like how committed is Square Enix actually? It's hard to say. Ubisoft, I don't know. Like Ubisoft actually at least made a move, right? Right.
Went badly, but they made a move.
But it was a move, yeah, and you cannot deny that. Like, of course, Ubisoft was the first mover. 1UP versus CPU. Do you think Miyamoto was tripping on shrooms when he came up with Super Mario Brothers and the Mushroom Kingdom? Also, yes, you should totally play Cyber Shadow. It's Mega Man Zero X or Mega Man Zero Cross Ninja Gaiden. All right, I will play that game. That sounds great.
That game's good. I don't know. I know it's usually a joke, but like as somebody who doesn't do very many psychedelic drugs, I always get offended at the notion that there's no creativity unless you like get high.
Well, he was definitely high. Yeah, but
he wasn't. Everyone's high. Everyone wants to have sex with cars. God, Jeff. Not everybody's a sicko like you.
Listen, me and the deviants out there represent. From Jedi Moss 4, do people overrate the importance of how large a development team is for making a video game? An example of this is Activision throwing as many bodies as they could against COD, and even that wasn't enough to meet expectations to keep their business model going. I think, do they underrate the importance? I think is probably what Jedi Moss meant. Yes, I think people probably do not actively understand the amount of labor that goes into keeping these games going. And you're right, they just need to throw more and more bodies at Call of Duty just to sort of maintain Call of Duty now. And we saw like, okay, even doing that, the game didn't meet expectations, and so Call of Duty had a decline year over year. That's a tough situation to be in, and that's why they're panicking. That's why they want out. It's a tough problem to solve where they have the biggest game in the world. Growth should be like, they should be able to figure out the growth, but really they're just trying to tread water at the top of the pool. And even that is like really tough to do. From Bench JC. Hey fellas, classes were canceled because of bad weather and bad driving conditions in my area today, and wanted to ask what y'all's favorite bad weather games to have the window open watching it rain or snow or something and just game. What's your favorite bad weather game, Mike?
It's kind of weird because I do so much of my gaming in this office right now, and as you can tell, I don't exactly have a great look at the outside world in there. I don't know if I've ever been like, it's snowing or raining, I'm going to play this specific game. I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever thought of it like that.
Tecmo Super Bowl is one for me. That's kind of when I was a kid, and if we had a snow day, we'd stay home and play some of that. I like Donkey Kong Country also because it has great snow levels and great rain levels. With like where like obscures the level. I really like that.
The snow levels in Super Mario 3D World would be pretty good if I was like trying to like embrace the snowiness. Probably because it has like one of the best snow level tracks. But
and then a more recent one would be Snow Runner. Obviously, I just like when it's cold outside and it's snowy outside, or if it's like rainy and muddy, like either one of those, I'm like, I want to just go mess around in the mud physics in Snow Runner. So yeah.
Yeah, Mitsuaka said Tony Hawk, and I don't know why, but that does sound like a comfortable thing to play when it's like raining outside. That sounds great.
From Jump Matt, can you recommend any podcast or books about business? Not specific to the video game industry, just business in general. If you want like the stories about business, it's kind of it's a little bit cheesy, but it's also fun. Business Wars, where they go back and they look at two companies that competed in the same space, and it's it's a narrator basically telling the story, and he does like voices and stuff, and he does the characters, and it's really well done. It's like if you read the Console Wars book by Blake J. Harris, and you like that kind of storytelling, it actually works better in podcast form, and it's basically just that for a bunch of stuff. He's done they've done the Nintendo versus Sega, and they did Xbox versus PlayStation, but they've also done like Levi versus whatever other, like Levi versus Guess or whatever. And they've done all kind of like Budweiser versus whatever other beer company it was. And all the stories are really fascinating, really well told, and you get like the full history of stuff, and it's like this crash course in business.
66. They do a lot of episodes.
Yeah, and they do like it's always like 6 to 7 episode seasons based on these topics.
Oh, that's very awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I find like that narrative style of podcasting is almost always like very appealing to me. It's almost always like the best way like to like get into a new podcast is like, oh, if it's like done as like a narrative story. So I really highly recommend that. And then if I would go Planet Money, you just kind of can't beat it. They're the everyman's way of learning economics. It's such a powerful tool. I've been listening to Planet Money since they started during the Great Recession. If you want to like learn the way that businesses think, but in terms of that a normal person can understand, that's a good way of doing things for sure.
Haagen-Dazs versus Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, I'm gonna download
yes.
this.
Oh yes, yeah. And honestly, like what I do is I just download a whole season and then just hit play and let it go. And while I'm doing like work on the weekend, and I'll get through like 3 or 4 episodes back to back. So yeah, it's a good show. Let's see, from Cranjus McBasketball. Jumpman, if I think of any other good podcasts, I'll make sure to tweet them or something like that, or put them in the Discord. So be on the lookout for that, because I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff. From Cranjus McBasketball. Hey, Jeff and Mike, Suicide Squad was delayed, but I'm curious, which DLC characters would you guys like to see added to the game post-launch? Peacemaker's probably at the top of the list for me personally. Yeah, we were just saying that exact thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this IP, so right. Like, I'd really, like Peacemaker mostly just because I want to see them try to. Who are they going to cast to be John Cena, right? Yeah. But they already have Samoa Joe in that game being the shark person, so
right, yeah. It's going to be it's going to be Mike, right? Mike the Miz, who replaced him in
the Miz, who replaced him. Yeah, because he replaced him for the Marine.
The Marine,
right.
Yes. God.
Yes, that'd be funny.
Yes, that'd be great. From Danger Man Leet, several discussion points / questions. Battlefield 2042 Season 1 pushed to the summer is damn rough, but probably the best of bad choices, as one would say. Suspect a skeleton's crew to support the game's 4 seasons while everyone else at DICE looks to the future. That game is in rough shape. They have to push out the new content because they just need to get the game in a good situation. It is they needed to delay it, but also like whenever I like look into this, I always hear everyone is to blame. Like EA is to blame for putting it out before the game was ready, but DICE is also to blame because they had a lot of opportunity to get this game ready and they just dropped the ball as well. So
it seems like there's some philosophical issue, like the whole focusing on a ton of players didn't really pan out, and that was like a big focus for the game's marketing and for the
such a bad idea for a game that costs $70, Mike. It's a $70 game. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to make a game that costs $70 and you need like a ton of players to fill a room. And listen, I get that they can do that, but it's more fun if you can do it with your friends, and convincing all your friends to spend $70 on a game that is in as rough shape as it is. It's an impossible task. I'm just so surprised they didn't find some way to make it more easy to access, whether that was EA Play or Game Pass or just straight up free to play, which they're still considering.
Speaking of remasters, maybe they should get on those Bad Company remasters. Maybe they should do that pretty soon.
Yeah, maybe now's the time to go to that. Like break glass in case of emergency, and behind the glass is Bad Company. Wonder what the next big acquisition / merger will be. Don't think Microsoft will do any big buyout after Activision or until the FTC or while the FTC is going hard on them. I guess Sony could go for a Square Enix just to make sure no one else like Amazon could or like Tencent could. This is a conversation point every podcast now, but it's like I tend to agree that Microsoft's probably going to take it easy.
There has to be some breathing room between these things, right?
Exactly. But if someone that they're eyeing does go up for sale, they'll make a move still. They will still do it because they don't like they will have to like play a little bit of defense and prevent someone else from stepping in and getting something that they want. Especially because it'd be really hard to imagine this deal not going through. And then finally, GTA 6 basically announced. At this point, I expect 2025 thereabouts. Don't expect any teaser until 2023. Mike, what does that timeline sound like to you? I agree with that.
That sounds right. I was just literally thinking, like, man, does Grand Theft Auto 6 come out before Elder Scrolls 6? And it's funny that it actually could, and like maybe probably will.
Yeah, it probably will.
Uh,
From Velocity Prime 1, happy Friday to La Familia de Beef and Cheddar.
Salute, familia!
Brazil! Sorry. Do you think the slump in Facebook Meta's stock this week and a slowdown in their user base for the first time might start to cool down some of the heat around the business of Metaverse and Web3, seeing now that these things weren't immediate hits? I think it's the opposite, right?
I mean, there's nothing to be a hit. There is no...
Right.
Now, I do think it still reflects badly on it as for investors and like their weird logic. So I think you might still be right. I think it does cool things down a little bit, but it is like, we don't know if that strategy is working or not yet. Like, again, they're doing that because
it's
the
a long-term
division is
strategy.
down.
Yes.
Right. And,
so
we're hearing
they're going to amplify all this talk because of what you just said. Like, yes, I agree.
Metaverse is the future. Facebook past.
Yes,
Facebook not named no more.
Right, and it might be a stalling play because like maybe that's never going to turn into anything, but they're going to be like looking around for what the future is while they talk about the metaverse. They know metaverse is hot enough that they can distract people a little bit. Obviously, not enough to stop their stock from falling 26%.
Right.
Though. Velocity Prime adds, it was balls cold in the Rockies this week. What's your preferred warm-up treats? Always love the local ramen shop here. Ramen or soup is always pretty good. I like that sort of thing. How about you, Mike? When it gets cold, what do you do?
Like a nice hot bowl of mac and cheese, something like that. So like pasta-y, something starchy.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Something like a heavy meal is always great when it gets hot. I like my wife makes chicken and biscuits, and it's just cream of chicken and those flaky biscuits, and it's really tasty. Yeah, I'm gonna see if we can make that soon. It's one of those homemade meals that I really dig when it's cold. Delta Prime 84. Hey Jeff, did you ever get a chance to look into motorsport games? The company that is buying up motorsport related licenses and developers. I bring this up again because their first in-house developed game came out last year. It was NASCAR 21 Ignition and is sitting at a terrible 26%, mostly negative rating on Steam. It's not exactly confidence inspiring for their WEC game I'm wanting to play. Also, Mike, is AEW Games still ignoring you, or are you getting some info from them you can share?
Now they're still like they don't have a very easy way of contacting them. They don't have a press email, anyways, and the ways I have tried to contact them haven't worked yet. So I haven't heard much. I don't think they have anything to say right now, anyway. So hopefully at some point they're going to take stock. Like, all right, who in the video game industry is into wrestling? Which are a lot of. I don't know if there is as many people as into AEW specifically as me. So I hope I hear from them a little bit, but who knows.
I bet you will then. I bet once they realize, okay, it's time to start communicating, I bet it'll be a little bit easier.
I'll be like, look at all these other people were tweeting about the Royal Rumble, which was bad. I was the one who was at AEW that week.
I haven't looked into motorsport games that much. It does sound like that seems pretty existentially scary if that's your genre. So I'll try to keep ears open and eyes open for what's happening in that space. All right, last few questions. Turbo Sean. Happy Friday, Jeff, future Pokemon Master Grubb, and Mike somehow already has a folder dedicated to Mina the Hollower Rule 34 Minotti.
Wow. Oh my God.
Already, Mike. Jesus.
Dang. Look, how did he find out? I didn't know that he hacked into my computer. It's kind of disconcerting. Or is that just concerning? I never know what. Yeah, never mind. I'm getting
Jeff,
caught up in words.
Did you try to say disconcerting or?
Well, yeah. Then I'm like, wait. Well, it's just concerning because it's concerning me. But what does disconcerting mean?
I think it's not disconcerting. Disconcerting. It's different. It's a different word. Is what it is.
Would it have worked in that sentence?
Yes. It's yes. I think it would have.
All right. Good.
We can Google the definition if you would like. But
that sounds boring and stupid.
Jeff, what instrument will you be bringing to PAX East to accompany Mike's tin whistle on the first show of the Beef and Cheddar Boys on tour? P.S. Have you guys heard about any cool supporter exclusive content coming in the near future? That's right. So, I listen. If we do an in-person PAX panel, I will purchase an alto saxophone, a very cheap one, secondhand, and I'll practice and I'll play alto sax along with it.
Just make sure you can play in the key of D, and we'll be good.
Okay. Yes. I'll look into that. Yeah. And then. Yes, Turbo Sean is promising to help us run this Jeopardy game. It'll be our bonus thing. So we'll at least do a test run of that and give it a shot. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty good at trivia, Mike. Pretty good at trivia.
I'm pretty good. I did bar trivia every week until the pandemic ended it and never came back. I miss it.
Oh man, what wasn't exactly that into trivia, but we'll see. Skatiddles, we all talk about the consolidation of the video game industry, but when are we going to see some consolidated of the Jeff industry? Yeah. Listen, I think we need to keep our Jeffs separate and independent.
I'll tell you what, we're not acquiring the other Jeff, so I don't want Giant Bomb taking my Jeff away. So that's bad. We don't like that.
So yeah, we're gonna try to keep the Jeffs strong and make sure there's a lot of Jeff competition out there.
I think they need their first mic, is what I think they need.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. Have you like the roster is JJ like it's like it's hilarious. Jeff, Jason, Jan, Jess. Yeah. Then there's Rory, who's holding it down from the R's. Reese Elliott, does Rachel like Arby's? If so, I now dub you the Beef and Cheddar Brigade. We
asked her. She has no strong feelings about Arby's. I don't think she even has one near her.
I think, to me, I got the sensation that she was maybe not a fan of Arby's and was trying to be nice to us. So
trying to be nice about it.
Yeah, and so I think she was like fearful, like if I'm not in the Beef and Cheddar Brigade, I won't be on the podcast anymore. And it's like, no, we'll still have you on like as needed.
It's fine.
Yes, you're totally fine. Winnie, if Sony figured out a patch that let PS5 run PS5 run PS3 games tomorrow, would Sony be able to just link to the active PS3 store, and any chance Spartacus will be along those lines? Thanks for a great show and ready to support the stream after. Thank you, Winnie. I appreciate that.
I can play I keep saying Gran Turismo. I can play Ridge Racer 7, Jeff, if that's true.
Yeah.
Tell me that's how it works.
I mean, listen, I think that if they haven't been investing in backward compatibility recently, I think it's a mistake, and I hope that they are going all out with Spartacus. So I'm not sure that's the way it's going to work, but I hope it is. I hope that's the way. I hope that you're able to put your disc in and it works like on Xbox, but we'll see. From Waffle Sama, when do you think Spartacus and PSVR 2 will launch? Mike, do you have any guesses?
No, I do not have any guesses.
I think Spartacus launches.
You put yourself out there.
Yeah, I'm going to say Spartacus launches this spring. By this spring, I think PSVR 2 launches this holiday. I think
makes enough sense. I certainly hope they have a new Astrobot game with that. Although I'll be super happy just to play the last VR one again.
I hope they announce a new Astrobot and they're like, and it's not VR. It's a new full standalone platformer. All right, here's our last one. From Gerber, inspired by the mention of Drill Dozer on this week's Nintendogs, what's your favorite game that came out towards the end of a console's life cycle that you feel was overlooked because it was released on a dead platform? My pick would be Everybody's Tennis on PSP. Have a great weekend.
I think Cannon Spike came out towards the end of the Dreamcast. Cannon Spike is that weird kind of like shoot 'em up where you play as random Capcom characters like Mega Man, Cammy, and Arthur. And it's just like a pure arcade game. God, it was fun. It was stupid, but it was fun. It came out to like 2000. Yeah, like very late 2000. So I think that counts. I'll say Cannon Spike.
I mean, the some obvious ones that I can think of, like Metroid Samus Returns, like kind of got a little bit overlooked. Because of the timing. WarioWare Gold, like a lot of like the big remasters that they did, the Mario and Luigi one for Bowser's Inside Story, I think, and then WarioWare Gold on the 3DS when it was kind of coming to an end. Like those didn't sell very well, and those are like very good entries in those franchises. I struggle. I mean, obviously, I liked like Yoshi's Island, Donkey Country, but those are not overlooked in any way.
Those are not overlooked. They did just fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm struggling to think of anything else. Mike, did we get any more super chats?
Jeff, we did, if you would believe it. Let's go. Forrest Heron says, how does Sony's acquisition of Bungie... Oh, no, we already did this one. My mistake. Radu Pericol Tagana says, can you think of any games where you can fail forward? Only examples I can think of are Pyre and LA Noire, maybe Heavy Rain, and The Last Express. LA Noire certainly makes it... LA Noire lost me when it had an unbeatable mission, Jeff. Like the second case, you couldn't actually solve it, and I was so pissed off.
Oh my God,
I was like, "What is this? What are we even doing here, guys?" like, right? Like, what the hell is this? So, gosh, I mean, I think that's what he means by fail forward. How do you define fail forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you fail, the game like just takes that into account, and like you just the game continues. But I don't know. I feel like mini games are I mean, I guess like you could say like Civilization. Like try like if your Civilization begins to fail, like you still have to like keep going, and maybe you can like pull out of it eventually. But even they try to avoid that because they know people hate the feeling of feeling like you're failing. So it's most games try to avoid it because it's not a great sensation to give the player.
Magnum Visual says Sony making 10 games of service games could potentially mean $30 billion a year. I think Sony is smart keeping Bungie self-sustained since there is a more attractive offer than Microsoft money. Yeah, I mean, I think there is some logic there.
Yeah, I think Microsoft wanted to like maybe get Bungie, but Bungie wanted to remain independent, and I think that was a sticking point for Microsoft, and especially alongside a pretty high asking price, which apparently Sony paid even more, but a big part of that was employee retention. So it makes some sense.
Jared Hoder says, "Are there any video games that made you cry?" I'm always bad. I don't. I'm sure there was a game that made me misty-eyed, Jeff, but I can't like really remember or why. I'm not a big crier anyway. It's like not a macho thing. It's just I don't know, just the way I'm programmed. So like media is usually not going to affect me like that. Usually I get more solemn if something hits me like that. And usually it's like when I beat just a really long game and I get kind of sad that I'm not going to be hanging out with like those characters anymore. And it's like that weird, like almost like separation, like depression thing. Really, like I'll get depressed by a game more than it'll make me cry, I guess.
Yeah. I remember when I first started like thinking about how magical Breath of the Wild was. I was like, I think I started like writing the review, and I'm like, this is so good. And I think I started crying a little bit then because the game was just so amazing. I'm like, I can't believe they did it. But not like, because something happened in the story. Not really.
Right. No, like, Aerie died, and now I'm crying.
Right.
Like, so it says Endwalker. Yeah, there are definitely points at Endwalker where I was emotional, maybe even like misty eyed, but I wasn't like bawling.
I think I might have cried in pain from hurting my hand from Astrobot when we were doing our speedrun race. So maybe that.
There you go. All right, that is it for the super chats, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, then we're done with the questions. So we talked a little bit about some of the stuff we were playing earlier on, and like some of the stuff we previewed in Gran Turismo 7 and Ghostwire Tokyo. But have you been playing anything else, Mike?
Not really. I mean, I've been doing my raiding. I've been playing a lot more Arceus. I think I'm getting close to like the campaign story stuff with like stopping the lords. Anyways, I don't know. There might be more beyond that even. But still just having a very, very good time with that. Catching Pokemon, leveling them up, searching for things. Like the different traversing with the different Pokemon actually feels really good. And the game like instantaneously switches between them at certain points in a smart way. Like if you are on the deer that just goes fast, you jump in the water, you are just on the fish automatically.
Oh, that's fun.
And that feels fantastic. So that's good stuff there. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I play that game every night, and it is every night. I'm like, all right, I need to stop playing now. I should go to bed instead. So
any pointers for me as I like really begin my adventure, because I've not ridden any Pokemon or anything like that. I'm I'm still like kind of the first open world missions and stuff. So
yeah, just catch up out as many Pokemon as you almost can when you're walking around, because you get good experience for your party. And for a lot of them, like you still level up your book just by catching certain numbers.
Right. Like so I've got like research level 10 on a few of them. Should I keep catching those Pokemon even after that point?
At that point, no. At that point, if anything, I would battle them. If you have like a strong type advantage, you can maybe take them out pretty easily because you can get some experience. I don't want to be super concerned about that, especially earlier on. Like you should probably just do some of the story missions at that point, unless you see new Pokemon or Pokemon like I wouldn't like bother checking your book every time. But if you see a Pokemon that you're pretty sure you've only caught a couple of, then you can go and worry about them. It's pretty hard at your point to like really build out your party because you only have so many that you can really choose from. I would try to get an Eevee. You could get an Eevee pretty early on, actually.
Point of that, yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually find the stones relatively easily if you know how to. I would look how to do that. And I would get one of the Eevee evolutions because it'll be good to have in your party early on at this point. That's my hot tip for you. What Eevee evolution what star did you get, by the way?
Because it seems like the least popular, I went with Oshawott.
I thought you would, and I thought you would for that reason. So that's very funny.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you can get so you don't want a Vaporeon, which is my favorite, but you could probably use a Jolteon Jolteon's hard because there's like that electric Pokemon in the very beginning that's very good. Like evolves. Yeah, like Sphinx or whatever, and he evolves 2 times. Right, I bet he's in a lot of people's parties. He's in my party. You can even find Pikachus in that first area.
I think he's ready to evolve, actually, so I should do that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Jolteon's kind of rough, but Flareon's good, but you can even get, there's the Psychic version, Espeon, there's Umbreon, the dark one, and there's Leafeon and Leaf.
I tell you what, I'll let Evie choose. So if she's watching while we're doing this, I'll let her choose which one I'm going to do.
Tell her if she says reporting, that's suboptimal. We're not doing that.
Yes, don't worry. I'll yell at her. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then I'll have chat help me find the stones and everything. So, all right, cool. That's I'll just see that Brie Larson uses an NFT as her new Twitter avatar. Fucking just great.
Yeah, she had to back off from that. Yeah. What was the actress right before Brie Larson? Everybody stand. Lawrence, Jennifer Lawrence, right? That's the last one.
Something. Okay, yeah. I've been playing Dying Light 2. I've talked about it a little bit. I put up a video. I keep meaning to like write up my impressions, but I'm not. Like I keep getting like more and more into it and realizing there's so much more that I haven't even like really experienced that it feels like even my impressions wouldn't be very helpful at this point. That game takes a long time to get actually going. They like were like 500 hours, and they're like, oh, it actually takes 20 hours to get through the story, and that was a lie. That's a lie. It does not take 20 hours just to get through the story. Even if you were just doing the story stuff, I can't see how it would possibly take you 20 hours. I think I was like 20 hours. I was probably getting pretty close to 20 hours, and now I'm just into like the second part of the game, which feels like the second part of 3 maybe. And I'm getting the big city part, and I just got the paraglider and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm like still unlocking basic tools, it feels like, and it took a really long time, and that might be, I think it's going to be really appealing to the people who played the first one for 500 hours. But if you are someone who's coming to this game like, oh, I'm going to play this and try to beat it before Elden Ring comes out, I think you're going to be like, actually, I might have to put this game aside at some point. So I think I'm recommending most people just wait and see. Like maybe some of these other games will hit with you more, and then this game might go on sale down like later this year. If you pick it up for like $45 later this year, I think that's going to be a really great way to get this game. Not that it's bad or anything. It's just kind of slow.
I don't think I would like it, just from what I'm hearing. Like I was on the fence anyways. I never played Dying Light 1. I don't really like zombie stuff, and
I think like the parkour stuff is more Mirror's Edge than it's ever been, and that might be the stuff that works for you. But
but so much of Mirror's Edge too is that like vibe, and the vibe in this is the complete opposite.
And it's like very much about like going into scary things at night that are completely pitch black, and you turn on your light, and they're safer to go in there at night because all the zombies leave, but then there's still some strangler zombies and stuff, and that stuff's really intense. And there's a meter counting down before like you turn into a zombie because everyone's infected in the city, and that's different from the first one. And so it's like really stressful and intense, and it's working for me mostly, but it's also like you have to embrace that vibe. That is the vibe they're going for. And I could see like there are good, like if you want to like have an intense game coming up in the next month, Elden Ring is an option right there, and it's going to be doing things in kind of a different way that I think it's going to be even more appealing to a lot of people. I think not that this game isn't selling; it's obviously appealing.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter say this is going to be like the next Days Gone in terms of like having this weird like it's going to create this like weird fight amongst
Greg Miller said that,
and audience. Do you think that's going to be true? Because you can see that happening, huh?
I'm like on the fence about that, even where I think there are going to be a lot of fans of the first one who are going to nitpick the changes, and they're going to be like the ones that are actually the most vocally against this game. I think there's a chance it goes that way, but that's just me guessing because I like the first one, but I was not someone who played it for 500 hours. I played it for 20 or 30 and put it down, and I was done with it. But that game was very specific in its ways, and this game is slightly different. Like there's no guns. There was guns in the first one. You didn't have this meter counting down at night. It was just like the night was really brutal, and it's like this time it's like a little bit easier. The thing that makes it harder is you're a little bit more timed whenever you're not in the UV light. And I'm like, I don't know if people are going to like that as much. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll like it more. But I get the sense that the changes might alienate some people a little bit, and I'll be happy to hear from them. But as someone who's just coming to this game is like, is this the next big game that I might get into? For the most part, I really like it. 20 hours in, I would say it's like, so far, this is not a final score, but it's like a pretty strong 3 out of 5 for me, where I like it. It's a good 3 out of 5. That could be a 4 out of 5 if it like gets even better as I unlock more stuff. But that slow start is a little bit frustrating and painful a little bit. So.
All right, Jeff, we should get going here. You start to edit this podcast to get that up, and then before you start your streaming adventure in a bit here, huh?
Yep, I'm hitting the button. Mike, where can people on the internet find you?
On Twitter at Tolkoto, Tolkoto. Check out the 90s Disney podcast at 90sdisney.com. We actually do have a new episode up about the Disney Institute, this weird kind of like learning resort, like lifestyle thing that they built in the late 90s there. That was real weird and didn't last very long. So check that out. 90s.
I haven't listened to this one, but I'm like very interested in that concept because it's like weird. That's like the opposite of what I go on vacation for. I go on vacation to forget things.
Turns out a lot of people thought like that.
Anything else, Mike, you want to plug, or should I tell people where they can find me?
No, you go ahead. Talk about the stream.
So yeah, everyone, right after this, in about an hour from now, an hour from now, I should be starting my live stream of Pokemon Legends Arceus. This is an event we're calling Let's Go Eevee. It is an event to raise money for Eevee and our family. Eevee's got leukemia. Her mom is my wife's cousin. Confusing, but yeah, basically my cousin's daughter has leukemia. We're raising money for the family. The mom has had to stay with her in the hospital, and this has been weeks on weeks and weeks on end now, and is not able to work her job anymore. I believe she's actually potentially even fired because she wasn't showing up. So we're trying to support them, make sure that they can stay with her while the little girl's in the hospital a lot. We'll tell her story more as we're streaming, but just show up, just come hang out. It's going to be at twitch.tv/JeffGrubb. Just come hang out. There will be links to the GoFundMe. I've already posted it on Twitter. If you're interested in supporting, that'd be great. But at the very least, just come show support. I think she's going to be watching. And if she just sees like the big number of like a lot of people watching, that alone is going to make her feel better. And we're really going for that. We just want to make her feel good about herself so she can have some positivity in her life. So everyone, again, twitch.tv/JeffGrubb at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 1 hour from now if you're watching live. If you are listening to this later tonight, just probably show up. I'll probably still be going. So just come twitch.tv/JeffGrubb. All right, Mike, any plans for the weekend?
Nope, gonna be snowed in. Gonna play probably a lot of Horizon, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to spend a snowed in weekend. The game's got its own vibes that are like, I don't know. It's
not snowy, I'll tell you that much.
No, it's not. It's West Coasty. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
West.